No,
That's what I thought.
So how is everyone liking
This
this?
is actually pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
So
we're trying truly wild berry hard seltzer. I mean,
If you would have got
You
White
ever
Claw, I
tried
would have been
what was
pissed
that?
off.
Wild Claw?
Move down.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? You said wild paw?
Wild Claw. It's
You
a
can actually bring it
seltzer.
closer to you, too.
Chris already drunk, or you're?
Yeah, I know. He's like, wild paws.
Okay.
I'm feeling relaxed. 'Cause,
Wild
well,
testicles.
I'm fucking full. That's why. So like,
No, there's another seltzer
Oh,
that our
okay.
son-in-law
I don't think
drinks.
this is-
It's
I
called
don't know how
Wild
you
Claw.
have to
It's pretty good. It comes in mango and everything like that.
so are you liking this? It's Arbor Mist.
I always love Arbor
The
Mist.
Arbor Mist is good.
Exotic fruits. That's not bad.
I used to drink Arbor Mist a lot when I was in the Coast Guard.
How
It was just my
exotic.
drink. That and Captain Morgan.
So
I don't know. I
You
saw
mix
a
them?
commercial. No, that and Captain. I didn't say that and the Captain
Well, it's
together.
kind of cool. So we officially have 6 microphones going.
Yes.
Even though we can't hear ourselves, but
Yeah, well, that can be fixed.
it's
later.
coming through. Yeah. So
that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
If you would have got White Claw, I actually would have been kind of upset with you because I'd have been like, "What? You look at us like college girls or something? What's going on, man? Don't be getting us
Yeah.
White Claws. This is the truly the adult drink."
since me and
The
Elliot
White
have
Claw
already
was rated higher in taste.
been here, but yeah, how's Junior's Junior Al? How's your first experience at Carlton's
Yeah,
house?
how your first experience here?
Okay, all right. First of all, I am 100% stress free for the first time in my life
Yeah.
from the past 11
Look at
years
his
of
hair.
my
It's
life.
actually almost full. Like,
I know. It's like growing back every hour he's here.
Stress free for the first time in 11 years. Stress free. I don't
I'm
have
feeling it.
anything weighing on my heart.
Before
or
we
nothing.
continue with Al, I'm definitely happy everyone got a chance to come up here. You know, me and Karen, we have
stay
our
longer.
home and we want people to come and visit and have a good time. And so I'm glad you both took me up on the offer.
Yeah, this is. If you think you're glad we took you up on the offer, I'm glad I took you up on the offer. Like, this is amazing. Like, this, just your lifestyle, man. This is amazing. This is great.
We spent
And-
45 minutes on the trip up talking about being here. Like, literally, 45 minutes of me and Al in the car. We were laughing. We was just like, yo, how many plates you think you're going to have, man? Because I'm scared. Like, I think
You guys haven't even eaten all the food yet. You're like, I'm full.
Yeah, literally.
I'm
like-
I'm just gonna put this out there. You better always treat Karen well, because the minute you slip up, I'm sliding in. I'm just saying. Do not drop your guard, my guy.
Oh, no. It ain't going nowhere. It ain't going nowhere.
What, you didn't tell
You can-
Al we're Mormons?
You can be, you can all can be our surrogate sons and stuff. And
I'm literally here feeling like I'm angry that I have to leave. Like,
Oh yeah, well,
No, I'm
that's
telling you, my first couple of days back at work, I'm legitimately going to be
why
upset.
I had to buy some alcohol because on the ride back, I'm like, I'm already fucking depressed right now.
I'll watch
gonna
some
go
more
home.
Hannibal and get hungry watching him eat body parts.
well, then think about it. If you talked about 45 minutes coming up here, you probably can just spend the whole 2 hours going back. Like, what was your favorite meal?
my whole ride on my whole conversation on the trip back is gonna be, fuck the capital region. Fuck it.
Well, that's why. That's one of the reasons why I moved out. It's like even when she lived in Vermont, just getting out of the city, you kind of feel like you passed this barrier.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's like probably like when you get past that Hoosick Reservoir,
Yeah.
you're like you just feel like the air changed, the energy
Hell yeah.
changed, and you're just like wow. And it's like the more I kept coming out here, I'm just like I felt good. And every time I went back to Albany, I'm looking around, I'm like this shit is depressing.
Why am I
Why
here?
am I here?
Exactly. Why am I here?
Exactly.
And it's sad because when you're down in Albany, there's so many old architect and buildings, and you're like, wow.
There's a lot of history.
You know,
Yes.
there's a lot of history, and it'd be so cool if they revitalized that and put more green in there and brought in some cool businesses. I mean, I would like to see the shows. We went to see
Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
and that
Oh
was an
my God.
incredible show.
Yes, it was.
And we don't, to get something like that, we got to go to Boston. But there's so much potential, and I think that's a sad part in looking at the old towns. Like
That's
Mr.
Albany.
Cuomo doesn't want to bring out that potential.
That's what's
Sadly.
sad too. Like it's all of us.
get me
Most
started
people
on
when they're growing up from a certain area, like obviously up out in New Hampshire, you feel a certain sense of like pride and almost like, hey, like Carlton and Karen said, you come out here, like you guys take pride in the fact that you have a wonderful house, wonderful neighborhood. People want to come out here, but like
And we work hard, and we want
Yeah.
we want it a place where people can come and have
like
fun.
even
See,
Albany.
and
There
this
was
is why I
certain-
love you guys' work ethic, because if you're going to work hard to live the life you want to live, this is the
That's what I'm
result of
saying.
it. Like, this is exactly what it should
Yeah,
be.
versus like,
And-
then you got people like me who work 7 fucking days a week, and I can barely afford peanut butter and jelly. And look at the neighborhood I live in, and that's what's It's
Well, I just think, I mean, you are a hard worker. I think you just need to reprioritize things in your life that could benefit you. Some of it is easy, some of it's hard. You're taking care of your mother.
Yeah.
Ellie's taking care of our mother.
For now.
even
For
Al-
now,
Al's helping
it's
take care
hard
of-
to just drop, responsibilities like that. I had zero responsibilities. I just had my job. That the job you're working at, Chris, I had that, and I'm like, what's really keeping me here? I just went through a divorce with my ex 2 years prior. I'm like, what's really keeping me here? Every time, just driving through Albany, I get depressed. Like, oh yeah, that's where she lives. That's where I caught her walking home from the hotel. And it's just like,
stink in the air.
why even? Yeah, why even? It just that it was so oppressive. I'm like, after I've been out here, it's open, it's wide. I'm like, I think what was like. Not even like a year, maybe, of us seeing each other. If I'm like, can I move in? Can I live down here with you? I'm a hard worker. I'll find a new job, and I did. I went to college, and I really benefited from that. And every day, I make sure I think about her first and what the life we have, and I work hard for it.
Here's the thing that I'm going to tell you that I'm going to say this to you. You are a hard worker. I respect your work ethic. I see what you've achieved there together with Karen, and it's amazing. But I'm going to be the guy that tells you that you had very little to do with it. Like, this is the key
Oh,
to your success, right?
No, I'm not going to lie. Everything I do is because of her. I want to make her happy. And in high school, I had no motivation to do anything. I was a C, B, very low grades. I went to the Coast Guard, as I said. It gave me confidence. It gave me some structure, but I still didn't know how to spend. But this is the first time I had money to spend in my life in the Coast Guard, and I blew it. I blew it on dumb stuff because we grew up poor.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to spend this type of money. I got into debt. I had, a lot of bills to pay. Irresponsible, and I have to admit, she is the reason why I am able to work this hard, because I moved in with her. Everything I did was because of her. When I had doubts going to college, I was like, I'm not that smart. I don't think I can do this. But you know what? I'm going to do the best I can because she's allowing me this opportunity. And because of her, I almost got a 4.0 GPA. I got like a 3.89. I was top of my class because of that. And because of her, I work as hard as I can every day to keep this. So yes, she is the reason, she is the motivation. I'm not going to lie. She is the key. So I agree with your statement.
Meeting her was like hitting the lottery, because the rest of us, we collectively stream through woman after woman after woman with hopes of finding a Karen, and we just don't luck out. We don't luck out.
We're playing pick 5, right?
No.
We're playing pick 5. You won the mega
Don't put me in with you three. Don't put me in with you three. I found somebody. I just have to wait.
Listen, we're playing, pick 3, and Carlton won the mega ball. So
Well, I got my
Carlton won the
lottery
mega
ticket.
ball right
just-
after he won the New York lottery.
But no,
It was real quick, Chris. Yeah, it was we talk about soulmates and fate. Maybe we were meant to be each other. Like I said, when we saw this house, when we were looking for it, we knew this is our house. We had no doubt in our mind this is our home, and we just made things happen. We work hard every day. She's still in a blue collar job. I'm in a white collar job because I'm management now, but she's still in a blue. She works hard. I do the best I can, and every day, even on the days I feel like maybe I'm not getting it, it's like I got to try a little harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're partners, and I think any relationship, you got to have a communication of what your goals were.
Yeah.
I mean, I was married before, very young, and we did not have the same goals, and it was a disaster. So, I ended up in a wheelchair.
Jeez.
Broken bones, 2 kids, our youngest autistic, huge amounts of debt, $55,000 worth of credit card debt that was just on pornography and presents for the other woman.
God damn.
And we had to go into protective custody. We moved 10 times. I held 3 jobs and got no help from any of my family, no place to go. One time we were just homeless because there was no place to go.
Yeah.
And so when I met Carlton, I had already paid off all of that, got through all of that, and we didn't need each other, and that's different. I wasn't looking for someone to pay my bills.
Okay.
I wasn't looking for a bailout, and he didn't need my money because he was on his own. So it was a partnership about what do you want out of life.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even looking to get remarried again. I never even asked for that because first time was not a good time.
First time was traumatizing.
Yeah, it was. But then again, when you're young, you make mistakes.
Yep.
And so I think with partnerships and that, and being later in life, I think maturity in a relationship is a big difference because you're done with the bullshit.
Yeah.
You're done with the screwing around.
The drama.
You know, just on the outside, when I hear some of his people are working from home and there's a couple people complaining, and one is a woman who goes, I can't be at home. I can't deal with my fiance 7 days a week. And I'm thinking, why are you getting married?
Exactly.
So that
I
person-
can't. I get so happy at the end of the day to come home to him.
To this.
But we share what's going on.
You're
we
welcome.
That's how it should be. That's how
we
marriage
look
should
at
be.
things, and then we're like, okay, on the house, what do you want to do for this? And we're together with that. I never had that in the beginning. And I think when you're young, like in high school and stuff like that, it's all about the sex. It's all about the body, you know, that kind of stuff. It's not about goals.
No.
It's not about what you're thinking. It's very rare that you know anybody from high school that married their high school sweetheart that are
Yeah.
together
That
for
turned
40
out
years.
I don't know a single person.
Rare.
Chris is the only
So-
person I know from high school. Well,
I'm saying,
sort of
but you-
the
but-
man
but
But
cat.
you're not married to Chris.
But out of state where she make you barely know any of your friends from high school, you know? And
Yeah.
it's true.
But not to mention what Karen said, like, I can't, because, we still remain friends even when I went back to Cohoes High School. But, like, out of the 500 students there, and there were couples in high school, and, like, every once in a while, whether Facebook or social media, you check up how these people are doing. Yeah, none of them stay together.
No.
It's
No, because you
it's
mature,
possible,
you
but it's fucking
grow.
rare.
Things happen in your life that change you.
Yeah.
You haven't found the right person, but she's out there, and you got to
Believe
believe
in yourself,
that,
Al.
and you got to have something to bring to the table too.
You know-
bring.
My dumbass is saying my soulmate is riding somebody else.
Makes sense.
Well,
While you're in the corner
until you
crying,
meet her,
watching.
of
Maybe I should
course,
sit
that's
on
a
somebody else's
possibility.
face.
Get rid of him.
Suffocating
for me.
somebody else's face.
And you're throwing quarters at some other stripper.
Yeah.
So come on,
Okay,
you're
that
not
was a
any
few
better.
years. Okay, that was a few years ago, and I'd like to think that I grew up a little bit.
No.
Well, think about this,
From that
Junior.
statement-
Think about this.
Do you have that pink
You
bucket
can't
still?
find
Yes.
anyone until you really stop and look.
That's true.
And if you're living day by day, you're not stopping to look.
Yeah.
You're just getting by.
True.
Makes sense.
And when you're looking at Tinder, it's funny because I listen
Tinder,
to you guys on this
Bumble,
podcast
Plenty of
about
Fish.
women and dating. And then I got three girls in my
Look at my
shop
phone.
that are looking for dating. And this is what they do on Tinder. Okay? Oh, look at this guy. He looks so cute. He has sensitive eyes. What do you think? Oh my goodness. All they keep saying is, hi, beautiful. Hi, beautiful. Hi, beautiful.
Fake.
What is that? I don't understand what that is. I said, it's hookups. That's what it is. And then I come home and listen to you guys. And I asked Carlton, I said, what do men do at Tinder? And he goes, I'd hit that. Okay.
Yep.
Looks good. Okay, that's not a relationship.
Nope.
But you're not going in expecting a relationship.
Well, you're not going into
Are-
Tinder.
I
Women
don't have
are-
Tinder.
I do.
They're looking
Problem.
Chris, like, I have 7 dating apps.
That's the
even
problem.
Christians for Christians.
That's the problem. It's like, hey, yeah, you want to have a one night stand? Oh, baby, please, are we dating now?
And that's
Get
the
the
that's
fuck
the
off
thing. Like
me.
you
Boom.
say that women on Tinder are looking for relationships, and maybe some of them are.
Yeah.
But for
Some are,
guys,
yeah.
when we are on here looking for a hookup, and we know that we can meet a girl tonight and sleep with her tonight, it doesn't ring with the essence of I'm looking for somebody. It kind of gives you the. It kind of makes you feel like she's looking for the same thing you're looking for.
Right,
I'm looking
there's
for a
that.
one night stand, and that's
Yeah.
it. So
Technically,
So that's not what
it's
you're looking for long term.
nah, like Tinder is
Nope.
Tinder for me is when I get really depressed. Like I really want a girlfriend, but this girl's gonna have to do.
Tinder is for a campfire that I'm about to put out right afterwards. Like literally, I made this Tinder account when I was really drunk and I was at my friend's
Oh,
house
yeah, I
in
remember
Schenectady. All right, I'm gonna read this again because it's hilarious. says, "I'm on Tinder to
God.
eat some ass."
Oh my God.
Literally the first sentence
And you wonder
in
why
my
you're
Tinder.
still single. Right?
Right? It says, "No relationship, no drama. You having a bad day? Throw that cooter in this direction. Tell me all about it as you ascend to ascend to the throne. Use it by face as your chair. I'm your servant. Don't even let me breathe. If I die, I die."
I have tasted heaven and I've ascended. Golden gates.
And how many hits have you got from that?
Actually, I got a few.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
There are always people out there, no matter how
Oh,
crazy.
yeah.
There's always people out there.
Well, you've seen it, Karen. Like, it's a cliche, but how many guys, like, and Junior's doing it jokingly, but there's guys who are dead serious that are twice as bad as him, and they get pussy like you wouldn't believe. And
Maybe they also are twice as good looking too. You ever
That's
thought
true
about
because
that?
I'm a special type of
even
ugly.
then,
So
we've all seen it. We've all seen
I
some
would say
very ugly fucking
special,
dudes.
but
Yeah.
Are you
that has some
talking
hot
Mark?
chicks.
Let's kind of layer this. Are you talking Mark special or, I mean,
Mark is in his own category.
yeah, he has his own category.
He is in a
Air
subhumanoid subcategory.
below animals, right?
Yeah, even to subhumans,
people.
he's a subhuman.
No, not
Yeah. No,
That's
mold
not fair. They're in
people.
wheelchairs and walkers. They
No,
can't
mole
participate.
people, those
Mole,
albino blind things, he's below them.
Oh boy.
Subhumanoid.
You guys believe me? Like that one time we were talking about. Al, you weren't on that. We were playing Xbox, and it's like you can't bring Mark up here because he's never gonna leave.
Yeah.
We're gonna leave the door open, and he's gonna get loose in the neighborhood like a wild animal. And we have a horse farm down the road, so it's like, could you imagine the couples out there on the porch and the horses get started like, "Hun, go check that out." Like, okay, he gets there, he sees the white flash, like, Jesus, and Honey like, "What is that, hun? A possum?" Like, "That's a big ass possum." It's like, keep looking, and then it's like the farmer's gonna walk around, he's gonna shine a light, and Mark's gonna hiss when the light turns on him and runs butt naked off into the woods.
Man,
It's gonna happen. It's like I told you, it's like he's gonna be like an invasive species that we just let loose.
call him a subhumanoid?
These guys somehow I can come up with the craziest shit. They just got to give me something, and it's just like an inferno. And I go on a tangent, making up stories. You know,
Tales of the Man Cat.
Tales of the Man Cat.
Subhumanoid. I can't get over it.
bestseller in New York.
Leave the door open and let them out.
No, but coming back, what I found intriguing was what Karen said, though, because this is, people always think, well, it's a generation thing. No, because there's women that are twice Karen's age that are just like, that whole scumbag gold digger, I want to spend the rest of my life just sitting around using a guy for money. That's not a generational thing. That's just horrible people, because whether it's, oh, this is 18-year-old girls on fucking Tinder, OnlyFans, or Twitch. No, there's been girls and women in the 40s and 50s were sleeping around Hollywood trying to fucking get guys using them for money. There's plenty of women out there who don't want to work, and I said that mentality Karen has, unfortunately, there's just a whole shit ton of women who don't have the mentality anymore. And
I just think that's just human mentality, and I think that the more
I've just said that
intelligence you get, the more you can.
the internet to
overcome
me
these
is
base
it's become another
desires.
avenue, but because the internet is getting so big, it's just creating more and more of a demand of people who want to do less and get paid more to do less. And that's it, because because Karen said, regardless of what COVID, she wants to go out and fucking work. She wants to be on her feet. She wants, she can never. Some people are content spending 35, 36 days never leaving their house, and like for most of us, that'll I'm telling you, as somebody who's had surgery last year, the first few weeks was cool, but after a while, I'm like, I miss goddamn sunlight. I miss just walking in some air. Some people were just content never leaving their house and living their entire life on the internet. Human beings we're not meant to do that. We're not. I'm sorry.
I was furloughed, and I was out of work for 28 days. And I lost my mind after 10.
I'm on remote work to the end of the year.
Yeah.
It was supposed to go back in September. Like, okay, you guys, we'll think about 1/1/21. I've been on remote working since mid-March.
Yeah.
And the first couple months were fine because I'm an introvert for the most part. I get out, we'll go for a walk around the neighborhood. You know, but then it's like,
even that's
I don't
getting up at the
necessarily
house,
miss going back to work. Yeah, we got a nice house too. But
Well,
I'm just-
I'm saying, like, your house makes it easy to stay home.
Yeah, exactly.
If
It's
I
like-
live here, I'd never leave. You're like, you want me to do what?
but after a
Yeah,
while, it's
sorry,
like, you know, I
absolutely not.
kind of do miss the little things we used to do, like brunch or,
Yeah.
you know, just going somewhere
Yeah.
or going out. And so it's like, I can kind of start to feel it. Like, there was a funny meme where, you know, the scene from Lord of the Rings where Legolas and Gimli has that drinking contest.
Oh, yeah.
And Legolas, like, Gimli passes out, and Legolas, like, I think I start to feel it. There's an introvert meme. It's like introverts after 2 months, like, I'm thinking starting to feel something.
No,
was
it's,
pretty
I've always said,
hilarious.
well, be on vacation. Be on vacation. This is like us being on vacation. It's great for what it is, but like being on vacation all the time, it does after a while get to you. Like, it's, say Disneyland is awesome when you go there. But if you go to Disneyland 5, 6, 7 times a year, it wears down.
I actually know someone who goes to Disney World 3 times a year.
Yeah.
And they do it yearly. He's on my, you know, he's
Yeah.
one of my team members that I supervise. They love that shit.
Well,
they
it's
go to
like
Disney
remember,
World
I
3
mean,
times
it's
a year.
a stupid
I
kids
can't imagine the
cartoon.
money.
That's a
Well, I mean,
lot
it was-
of money.
That's a lot of money.
You say you could afford to. Remember, like, but it's on a side note. Remember Fairly Odd Parents?
Yes, Fairly Odd Parents, yeah.
Well, there's one episode. It's a kids' cartoon on on Nickelodeon, but like Timmy wished for Christmas every day.
Oh, I remember that,
And,
yep.
and after the episode, he starts realizing Christmas. What makes Christmas special is it only comes around once a year.
Too much of a
If
good thing
every
is a
day
bad thing.
Christmas, it loses all of its appeal. So I'm just saying, like anything, it's this is great, but like not even living in this area, Carlton, because like you said, even living out here, just getting up, even just going walking around the fucking block, you're still getting up out the house. Human
Yeah.
beings, we need air. You need sunlight. Your body, it's like how many times. Even like when we were talking about Steven Seagal before, and like one of his best moves was Hard to Kill. And Hard to Kill, he was in a coma. And what happens, like he couldn't walk for the first few weeks because like your muscles, freaking atrophy. It's just like I said, human beings. Joe Rogan's talked about this a million times. That technology is making us like the whole thing with Wall-E and stuff. Like people, we're gonna be sitting there in hover rounds drinking milkshakes out of fucking straws and like.
Too late.
And it may be funny, but like this also then you get these. My 600 fucking pound life people, and people are having strokes at 40 years old and shit, and just like saying,
Or younger. I believe there are some people on there that were just in their early 20s, and they're like, yeah, you're probably not going to hit 25. And I was like, damn. Sucks.
That's
to be-
crazy.
even Elliot did this, and like I said, Al was busy, junior hit stuff. You guys are up here, but Elliot was the only person where he came down to help me because. Well, we're not doing a podcast from my house, obviously, your place, but like it took me 4 days of like getting up at 6 a.m. on my vacation to getting done at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, rebuilding that entire basement floor. The first day Elliot came down, we spent a good 2 hours tearing that floor apart. Elliot was covered in fucking sweat, and
I
like
loved it. No air. It was just
and-
one window, and I'm like, hard work, good.
I almost get aggravated towards Susan because I said, "So you want to come?" Does I can do this by myself, but it does help out to have Elliot with me and a third person. Just small things, sweeping, picking up wood. And Susan's like, "Yeah, you guys got it and stuff." And I'm like, "You do realize the fact that you really haven't worked in 4 fucking months? Like, could you mind helping out for 10 minutes even?" But like. It was a point that, like, the first day when Mary's stepfather, Lloyd, came down, and, he's an older guy. I'm not faulting him. He's, like, mid-50s, and, I'm a lot younger than Lloyd. So he needs breaks that I don't fucking need. But I would say, hey, Lloyd, you need Gatorade, you need water. He took more water breaks. Mom comes down, she's like, Chris, oh, my God, how do you take it down here? Lloyd would take breaks. When I get into a project like that, just for me, I keep going, but I'm also younger. I'm in kind of better shape for what I am. And like, I didn't take a water break. I didn't take a food break. When I get into that fucking zone, almost like that runner's high you get, that weightlifting high, you get into that fucking zone that feel good and stuff. Like you start going and I'm like, I don't want to stop. But like the next day, when Christian came over, my whole body from head to toe it's like I was sore, but also felt fantastic because
It's rewarding.
And Al said this, and even Karen said this. Like when I finally sat down, when Ellie came over for the barbecue Saturday, and the rugs were done, computer was set up, everything was done. I sat down like. That whole feeling of like I'm sore, I'm tired, and I feel fucking fantastic. The fact that I did this shit, but when I was sweating, them 3 days covered and just in fucking dirt, and so I felt more alive in those 3 days of my vacation than 6 months at my current job. There's just I don't get no kind of feeling of just sitting on my ass all day, and I don't feel like it is. It's the whole like Al knows this. I worked in a garage. If I worked a 16-hour day in a garage, I'd be tired after work, but I still felt good.
It's a sense of accomplishment.
It's also probably the hard work. What is it? Releases endorphins.
Well, I'm
Yes.
saying, but the human body, and Rogan's made this, the human body, our bodies are meant to move, and like, and being a driver, when I drive, even for 5 hours straight, I get up out of work and I feel just sluggish. I feel awful. That's why I said, all of us play video games, all 6 people here, and we love video games. And like, the longest I played video games in the past couple years was after my surgery. I was bedridden for a month, but my whole stomach healed. But like the second after since then, like I don't have these. For me, I never had these. Well, I played Warcraft or Call of Duty or Fortnite for 15 hours. I can't physically sit down for 15 fucking hours and just like your body feels off. There's something about we are not meant to do that. Like our body, none of us. It's just like
after about 2 hours, maybe 3 pushing it nowadays, I'm like, I'm done.
Even like when I was in the
break.
hospital, they had these machines. On both my thighs, they had these automatic leg massagers. They would massage my legs every 15 minutes because you will get blood clots. Not the first 4 days I was in bed rest, I couldn't leave the bed, and I had to have a catheter and stuff. But like the major thing you go through is blood clots because again, our body, and they say the second you get a chance, we want you, even if it's for 5 minutes, walk around your hospital room. You need to get up and fucking move. And we see this with the whole 600-pound lives and stuff, and all these introvert people and shit. All these massively overweight people. How many health problems did they run into because they haven't lifted their fucking like? What we've seen it the whole. It's funny but not funny when they fuse into their couch. Where like their couch mixes with their body. And at that point, they literally have to cut the couch off because if they cut into the couch, they'll cut this person's skin because their organs have like grown into the couch, and it's disgusting. No, and you see it and read about it. Like like they will be sitting there and pissing and shitting on their fucking couch and stuff, and your skin, you shed and everything. And at some point, your body will meld into the fucking fabric. Yeah. So like they have to like literally cut the fabric around you because if they try cutting you out of fabric, it'll tear your flesh right off. Like that's my whole point. As I said, with the humans, everybody loves a lazy day. Everyone fucking deserves a vacation, but like we're not meant to do it. That's your whole life is a fucking vacation. Like so we're not meant to spend 18 hours a day fucking playing Call of Duty. We're not. Nothing wrong being white collar, Carlton. I've said anybody or somebody working a desk job, but the point is like working.
Oh,
doing
I feel
something,
it too. I mean, I honestly, like you talk about hard work. Like I do hard work. I feel mentally exhausted at the end of the day because you're dealing with other people and just issues. But at the same time, I don't feel the same reward that I get like after I said, well, a day in the Coast Guard or any day of.
Karen. If I'm done with this house, how many times like just a small project? I would say whether it's like building your back, anything you built in this house. Yeah, there's a different sense of like I built it versus I called the guy to do it for me.
Yeah, like the little white finch you guys saw. Yeah. We brought it, we put it together, and every time we look at it, it's been a year later, we're just like, it gives us a sense of just a peace. It just feels so good just seeing it. And like we did it, and it actually looks pretty damn good.
Yeah. And social media, people get pissed off at me, and I still argue, don't give a fuck. It's just like people don't get the difference between there's lazy and there's working, and there's mentally draining, but there's so many people that I'm against it. It's just pure laziness. You can work a computer job, you can work a secretary job, you can be an editor, you can be a programmer, you can still technically work at a desk, but the point is there's lazy and there's entitled. And it's like I said, there's whenever I want to get the YouTube shit going, but things keep coming up. But like recording YouTube videos, recording this podcast, all 6 of us were literally drinking some hard cider. We had fucking food. Nobody worked all day except for Karen.
I had a lot of food
because Karen made food, but none of us have worked. It's like we're sitting here in a basement drinking fucking cider. This is not work.
Yeah, it went from one basement to another basement.
Well, I mean, the thing is though is that the majority of the population doesn't consider this work. You know what I'm saying?
But it's
like
not.
Joe Rogan doesn't consider this work.
No.
You know
it's
what
a
I mean?
hobby.
Yeah, a lot of people who do this consider this a hobby.
And Joe said that
people
who podcast, it's not work.
Yeah, the people who consider this a hobby, the people who value hard work, they can relate to this. You know what I mean? They can relate to us when we say about hard work. When I unload trucks, when I unload appliances off of trucks, and the truck is 110 degrees inside that truck in July, it's horrible. You know what I mean? And when I'm done with it, it's like, all right, I'm done with work for the day. I'm going to get a good night's sleep. I'm going to feel great. I go outside, I get some fresh air for like 15, 20 minutes. It feels amazing. You know what I mean? Does it feel amazing to take appliances off the truck? Absolutely not. When you're almost dying from heat exhaustion, it doesn't feel good at all. But the idea of working hard is definitely not focused on. And I agree with Chris on that aspect. It's the idea of working hard for the most part in this, especially over the past, I would say, I would give or take about the last 5 years. Hard work is definitely not the focal point.
Now I know I'm gonna misquote this quote. I have it on Pinterest, I believe, but it's like hard times create hard people create good times, good times create like bad people, or bad times create lazy people. Something along those lines, but pretty much because of our previous generations creating us this opportunity, that it's also now creating bad people. Not bad people in the sense that they're bad, but not the
Bad
same,
influences.
bad influence. They're not working on the same like level that these people fought for and gave us these opportunities.
Yeah.
So this gave us this peaceful time. It's not bad people, it's weak people. That's what it is. Hard time creates, that's what it is. Like I said, I knew I was going to misquote it, but I just read it. I'm like, that shit was deep, because they gave us through all their hard work and sacrifices and accomplishments, they gave us this peaceful time, and it's creating weak people. That's going to create hard times again, which is going to create hard people. It's going to be a perpetual cycle. So,
and it's so hard to stop it, because as a child growing up, I had very little. So when I had my own kids, there's so many neat things. And so I'm like, yeah, sure, you could have 4 Barbies, because I never even had one. So it's amazing to do that, and then they get used to it. And I'll never forget the kids we were shopping, and I had said before that in the beginning that when I had a better financial situation, we could have things. And then when everything fell apart, I'm like, we're on a really strict budget. We're really tight, And we walked into a toy store, and they had all those Jurassic Park toys out, the really cool ones. And Ethan was real little, and he loved dinosaurs. And he said, oh, I want that. And it was like $36. I didn't even have it. And I said, I don't have the money for that, hon. I'm very sorry. Mommy will save up, but right now I don't have it. So he walked up to the salesperson and said, we're poor. We have no money. I can't have that. And I'm like, yep, we're poor. Sorry, have a good day. And those things happen. But in the beginning, I had been, when they were younger and I had a good job and everything, I had the ability to do that. And then when it's gone, they don't understand that it's not there anymore. And it's hard, because you want to provide a better opportunity for your kids and make that better, and then it's easy for them, so they don't understand the hardships that you got there to do that.
Well, I think a good parent could measure like the good with the hard. I had to do chores for even like a quarter or a 50-cent allowance.
Okay, does any of us have cell phones when we were kids?
Nope. Absolutely not.
How many little ones do you
cell
see with
phones,
cell
maybe?
phones?
I didn't get my first cell phone until I was 18 years old, and I bought it myself with my graduation money that I got from my dad.
I was like 23 years old when I got my first cell phone.
So, I mean, expanding on what you said, Karen, there was a thing that I researched before. It was about how kids were treated today as opposed to 15 years ago. And there's a huge difference. There's a lot of mothers that won't do anything for their kids at all whatsoever. Nothing. Even if they have the opportunity to do it, they won't do it. You want to know why? And this is the reasoning for it. It's going to blow your mind. The reason why they said that they're not going to do anything for their kids is because they want their kids to have the same exact upbringing as them. They have the same exact, I didn't have it, so you're not going to have it because I didn't have it. And it's like, how is that even remotely fair to the child? Because you're not giving your kid something simply because you didn't have it. You, in the situation that you were in, you weren't able to get it for your kid at the time because you just didn't have it. Not because you didn't want to get it for him. Right. Because you just simply didn't have it, and that's the difference.
I don't necessarily disagree with that, though. Not necessarily. But
here's the thing, though. What pisses me off, though, and I'm not a parent, so maybe my opinion might not be as strong. But my opinion is that you can't punish the kid for your personal upbringing. You have to be the positive influence to bring about a brighter light in the next generation. You know what I mean? And
as long as it's not, I think, upbringing is what you're saying is good, and opportunities are good.
Yeah.
But just spoiling is not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course not. Of course not. But I'm talking like in that isolated incident in itself. It's like you did that. In that situation, you couldn't do it. because you couldn't.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like when I hear and I see it on Facebook a lot when mothers will be like, well, I'm not going to get that for my kid because I don't want my kid doing that because I want my kid to be about this. Or I don't think that I'm not going to do that for him because I'm not going to make it seem like he can just have everything in life. You can teach that principle without being harsh about it, though.
Oh, I agree.
You know what I mean? Like, you
agree.
can teach that principle that you got to work hard for stuff without being harsh. Because what's the harm of giving your kid a couple of toys to keep them occupied? Because it's not safe to be out here in these streets.
Right.
There's kids that's aged. I mean, if we look at everything that's been happening, especially like in the inner city areas, there's kids that's aged 6 to 14 that's dying at an alarming rate.
I can tell you, even when I was a kid, it wasn't safe to go outside for the most part. I mean, we grew up right on like First Street, right there by Arbor Hill.
Yeah.
And you know, oh yeah,
18 years in Arbor Hill, not a scratch on me.
You know what I
You can
mean?
run fast.
Oh, I did get jumped a few times in Arbor Hill,
No, see-
but we got robbed. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
But I forgot what I was going to say. Now I got to turn.
You got robbed.
No, that's fine. I'll get back to it if I remember it.
No, like,
Yeah.
I agree. I believe in teaching. You have to teach children empathy. They have to learn empathy. They
Yeah.
have to learn right and wrong. So I was always good about, they could have any pet that they wanted. As long as they took care of it.
Yeah.
I would provide the vet. I would take care, but a pet's a responsibility. It's not something you try on like a pair of socks and then when it didn't work, you give it away.
Yeah.
You made a responsibility to the very end.
Yeah.
Though I have a funny story with that one. Ethan loved reptiles and he really wanted a snake. And I hate snakes. Not as much as spiders, but I hate snakes. So I said, okay, well, we'll think about this because I really need to be open-minded as a parent, but I really hate snakes. So we were at this park, and all of a sudden, we were walking along, and he took off and was running straight across the road into this field, and I didn't know what he was doing. I'm like, get back here, I'm going to tan your butt because you're taking off on Mom. And he beelined right to these people sitting on a blanket out there. And I'm like, do I know these people? How did he know these people? And he was so excited. And I could tell that he was all excited. And as I got closer to the blanket, I realized that they had a huge boa constrictor on the blanket. And he was asking him all kinds of questions about the snake. Where did you get it? What's his name? This is great. Mom, I want this and all this stuff. And then she was explaining that she takes her snake everywhere, but mostly to work because she was an exotic dancer. I said, okay, great, thank you. And yep, we're going to find a snake somewhere else. And so we left. So it took him a couple of years, but he finally came home with a garter snake that he caught outside. Free snake. Free snake. I'm like, okay. All right, I can't say no. And Hissy lasted for a couple of years until she died. And boy, that stunk because snakes don't smell good. But I think part of being a parent is that you need to let them have those experiences to teach them about life, about death, about empathy, and all that kind of stuff. And that's really important.
It is.
And it's hard
a lot
work.
of kids don't get taught that. A lot of kids don't get taught that in general. They don't get taught. They get tossed out there in the world. They get tossed out there in the street, and what they learn is what's right in front of them. And when that gets beat into them for so many years, for so long, it's hard to break something like that out of it.
And I agree.
And that is extremely hard. Like that's like saying us 6 here to say, hey, we're not going to play a single video game ever again. Do you know how hard that's going to be for me to not turn on my Xbox when I go home tonight? Like, it's going to be really hard for me not to do that because
your upbringing and surroundings conditioned you to who you're going to be.
And I think kids, you have to learn empathy. You're not born with it. So if kids are learning it from video games or online chat rooms, they're not...
Your streets.
You don't know what kind of message
that you're sending.
Right.
You don't.
And that's wrong because the parents are the ones who's supposed to be teaching that.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, that's what's sad, Karen, is like when I was like a couple weeks back when Joe Rogan was talking about, video games and wasting time, blah, blah, and this scumbag you don't know, but this guy Ninja, who's a pretty popular player. And like I got into arguments with people about a lot of these kids, unfortunately, they look up to some of these Twitch people. But this kid just like, he sits there, he gets online though, and he treats kids like shit. And it's like, and you're a 12-year-old kid, you're just hopping online, and like you have this guy who's 30 years old calling a kid a faggot, calling like your mother should have fucking aborted you, you're a little fucking scumbag. And I'm like, what kind of man are you? Just curious. At 30 years old, you're hopping on the internet and like, well, you're telling a 12-year-old you're a fucking faggot, scumbag, little bitch piece of shit. I'm gonna come to your mother's house and fuck your mother in the ass. Like, you're 30 years old, bro, and you're talking to a 12-year-old like that.
Yeah, but then again, you have to argue, okay, he's got the freedom of speech to say that, so where are the parents taking this kid offline listening to that?
Yeah. But that was my whole premise. But like you said, with 12 years old, it's like a lot of these kids out there don't have parents, and and their idols become people like him.
Yeah.
And so people like him, this is why he's making the kind of money he's making for, because unfortunately, a lot of kids don't have parents, and their idols are becoming not the Mr. Rogers, it'd be a separate topic before, but Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby was an icon to everybody. There were people that were icons that were good people and shit. Now our icons are the Kardashians, the ninjas, the Dr. Disrespects. Yeah, it's like the icons are just awful human beings.
Don't get me started on Nicki Minaj.
Do you like her?
I can't stand her, especially now that she's married and impregnated for a rapist, pedophile, murderer.
And how many young girls want to be her?
But because she makes lots of money and she represents a lot to girls.
To what?
Okay, I'm going to speak on the music influence, because this is a topic that I've wanted to speak on for the longest time, because I've been seeing way too many threads on Facebook about like the newest music video WAP by Cardi B and and Meg Thee Stallion. Here's
I don't listen to that shit.
Here's the thing. The music influence is on the lowest totem pole of influences around here. When people keep saying that music videos are influencing our kids too much, it's not the case. The top tier thing, especially in the last few years of what's influencing our kids, is social media. Because when they have access to this at such a young age, what can they download? That's the quickest thing to download, the easiest thing to download and to log on to. It is the Facebook app. What is the first app? When you go onto the page and you click on the App Store and it's a brand new phone, the first thing they're going to advise to you to download is a social media app. Social media is very, very, very toxic. It can be used in great ways. It can be used in amazing ways to connect with people. It can be used to establish great businesses. It can be used for great PR. But the social media is such a double-edged sword that as much as you can stab people who are being total pieces of shit, you can stab yourself just as deep. You know what I mean? And it's where it's like what we talked about before in the car, where it's just like how movies are losing so much, like, movie productions are losing so much money. Video games are getting worse and worse because they're putting agendas into these things, and because they're satisfying the 3% of the loud people that's saying something, and they're losing the 97% of the fan base that doesn't care. They're like, yo, release the raunchy content. We want that. You got 100,000 people saying, oh, I don't want that, boycott it. Okay, you 100,000 people can do that. 330 million people are going to buy it. So who's really, if you don't, but because the majority of the population doesn't speak up about it, and because it's not printed on social media that we don't care what the hell you do, as long as it's not crazy offensive, we're fine with it. Like, if you're not, like what Nick Cannon said the one time, like, I don't care about PC culture or cancel culture by any means, which is all social media 100% is cancel culture and PC culture, right? But what Nick Cannon said, I support cancel culture with that. Why? Because he went crazy. He says he's above white people. He says white people are savages. They're animals. They're this, they're that. Black people have evolved past white people. You say something like that, those same white people signed your paycheck last week.
Yes, it did.
So when you're saying stupid stuff like that, you deserve to be canceled. You know what I mean? But overall, though, it's just that. But overall, though, the overall spectrum is that people are so offended by every little thing, especially things that didn't even matter 10 years ago. Yeah. And it's just like, it's great. Like Washington Redskins. Washington Redskins. Not a single Native American said, I have a problem with Washington Redskins.
That's not true. They've complained about that for years. They
Well-
literally have complained about that for
Well,
years.
the majority of the people that complained about it were not Native Americans. The vast majority of the people
Native
complained about
Americans
it.
complained about it for years.
They have complained about it. Some have complained about it for years. Some,
The funny part,
but
I
a
was
very small
reading,
percentage
I was
of them
reading years
has.
back. They did a freaking poll. They asked, like, I'm not sure the exact number of natives they polled, but they polled natives like, across the country how many were offended, and like 5% were offended by
Yeah,
it. And
5%.
of course, there are some that are offended, but
Here's
the
the
majority
thing,
are like,
though.
we don't care. Like,
Here's the thing, though. Because they're natives and it is offensive to them, you can't just brush it aside and say, well, you're the minority. We don't have to listen to you.
well, no, that's what I'm saying. But if you take, like, just.
But if you do that to every little
Well, no,
thing that
I mean,
people
like,
are,
I mean-
that a little minority of people are offended by, and you do that to every little thing across America or in our history, that you're offended by every little thing, and you just change it because
But
you're just offended by it.
To them,
that's
it's not
gonna
a
affect
little
everything.
thing. To them, it's not a little thing.
Yeah.
This is. I'll put it to you like this: if there was a group somewhere that started a football team called the Wetbacks or called the Niggers or some nonsense, it would be offensive and people would be up in arms. And it wouldn't, even if a bunch of people didn't say anything, you would still be able to recognize that it's not right. I'm not saying that everything should be cancel culture or everything, we should jump on everything, but there are certain things that it should be common sense. And that is one, especially they've complained about it for years. It's not like all of a sudden they came out of the woodworks one day. They complained about this shit for a long time. It's just that nobody was listening to them. And for the most part, people felt like we don't have to listen to these guys. That's really what the issue was.
Yeah.
Is people just felt like we don't have to listen to
But
them.
now PR is so big now on social media now, because if you start complaining about every little thing on social media, and I'm not saying that the Washington Redskins thing is little. I'm saying in general, the majority of the things that people find offensive is little.
And I'll agree with you. I agree with you on that. That a lot of things that people complain about is nonsense. It ain't worth the hype. And
But
they
it's
make a big deal out of
changing.
it.
But it's changing, and it's having a negative effect on what we see nowadays. It's having a negative effect on comedy. It's having a negative effect on movies that we see. It's having a negative effect on video games that's getting released. It's having a negative effect on a lot of things.
But understand
because
that-
those little
Right.
minor things are changing.
Understand that that's our fault. That's the fault of the people.
Yeah.
That's not like the
Yeah.
reason that you see stuff like that happening is because companies understand if I'm selling a product and people complain about it, they have to respond because it's their product they're selling. Like if I employ you
Yeah.
and you go out and you say something offensive, your offensive language is going to affect me.
Yeah.
So I have to do something. I have to fire you, and then I have to put out a statement that I don't support your message.
Yeah.
And that's really, like, companies are stuck in a place where I'm not saying they're right for like the over excessive censoring and their knee-jerk reactions. I'm not saying it's right, but understand, it's their brand. It's their, they have to respond.
And then they tank.
Well,
and
the
then when they do
reason-
respond, they tank.
Well, the reason some of these companies have to respond, like Uncle Ben's Rice, I
Yeah.
mean, I is that they know that there's a small group of people out there that once they get targeted, they will
won't let
work.
go.
They will go online
Yeah.
and what was that they called that?
DOS attacks. Yeah,
DOS
our
attacks.
son-in-law, he has his bachelor degrees now in history
Mm-hmm.
as well, and he watches a lot of documentary. He's a really smart guy. He goes for the facts. He hits people with the hard facts.
Yeah.
And a lot of the reason why a lot of these companies bend their knee,
yeah.
maybe not all, but says a lot of them is because there's so many hackers out there. These companies don't have built up firewalls that even though it's not in the mainstream media, they get these DOS attacks that corrupts their systems, that affects them more than just than actually just switching over or bending the knee. It's like, you know what, we can lose millions of dollars every day because we're not getting our communications across all of our various structures and departments, or we can just bend the knee and we'll lose a little bit. It's not saying it's just across all. I mean, he does his research. He's all about the cold hard facts, and if he has a question about anything, he looks deep and he drills. And in a lot of companies, because they're not built up like the big, they have to bend the knee.
It's
if they have
cheaper
to.
for them to rebrand
Yes, exactly. It's cheaper
and just
for them.
say, yeah, we did it. But then you look at it and it's like, okay, if we're going to be this offended by Uncle Ben on a rice box, which as a chef, I wore the same exact outfit as he did. So I'm thinking, all right, if that's offensive being a chef, then what I did was offensive.
I would say
don't
this,
know.
and this may be controversial. about the cancel culture, it does direct its attention to a lot of stupid stuff.
Yeah.
But again, in regards to the Washington Redskins, it also readjusts the attention back to stuff that has been an issue that does need to be addressed.
Sometimes, or it buries it, because you got so much crap that the
good stuff is
gets
overlooked
buried by the crap.
by the Dungeons and Dragons and World of Warcraft being racist. It's
just
it's bringing it's everything. Sorry, I didn't mean it. It's everything that happens. There's a good side and there's a bad side to all these different types of movements. But it's like the good seems to be overshadowed by the bad.
There's no logic. I mean, so should we look at Mexican food or Oriental food because they've got Yanni Yum on one of these little Chinese girls? Oh my goodness, is that racist? Is that offensive to Chinese people that Chinese food have a little person that looks Chinese on their food that comes from China? I mean, where do you draw the logic line?
Where do you draw the line that it's okay to have that and not look at anything and find something offensive? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because with me personally, I look at everything and it's just like, you know what? As long as you're not personally calling me out on my name, as long as you're not disrespecting somebody that I care about, I'm okay with it.
I look at most of this stuff, again, like I said earlier, it's about what can I really change. And in fact, I look at all these changes like, that's sad, that this is going away. That's a icon I grew up with. The face I saw, Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben, you name it. But at the same time, it's like, how much is it really going to affect me, though?
And
I'm still going to buy Uncle Ben because his face is not there. But am I going to stop buying it? It's sad, to see that your childhood, things you grew up with, things that influence you, and this is just various things, that it's being whitewashed away.
The thing that makes it even worse is that you grew up with it and you didn't even know that it was an issue until like you're a grown adult and then somebody digs up something and they're like, well, this is offensive and this is why. And you're like, yeah, but it didn't mean that to me. Like what you're saying it means now, it didn't mean that to me.
And it still doesn't mean
delicious
that
rice. With this, it was a brand that I liked, and now you're telling me that I'm supposed to either boycott it or not mess with it unless they change the logo and I don't know what to do with that sometimes.
And who's the offensive police and what choices and criteria are they basing? I mean, I don't want to offend anybody. I wouldn't, if they said, if you buy X rice, all the proceeds go to child trafficking. Well, God, I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't want to support it if I knew and it was legitimate and logical. Honestly, I look at Uncle Ben and I'm like, okay, I see a man in a chef's suit, a chef's jacket. I wear a chef's jacket just like him.
Well, why was it offensive though? I still don't even know.
I don't understand. I mean, if there's a white person,
they said
or
it was
Chinese
offensive
person,
because it
he's
did
a
not.
Black man.
No, it did not properly represent the black community. It was too the proportions were not correct. It didn't look realistic. It was degrading. Again, I saw this news article back when this all began. So this was probably back in June. It was something, and the same with Aunt Jemima. It's like her old picture where it was kind of cartoonish. Her proportions were off. It was disrespectful because it doesn't represent a real black woman of nowadays.
But then a direct relation.
But this is the person, and they did adjust her I think 10, 15 years ago, where she does look like, and people saying that looks like it could be my grandmama. For the most part. I don't know why these people have to go out, especially when. There all this talk about bolstering up black, communities, black goods, supporting all this, but yet you're taking faces off people who made their millions on this brand. If
not billions.
Billions on,
Well, if you're learning and trying to be a better person and more sensitive and understanding all of this, and you're trying to do the right thing and learn. How can you learn when you've got all these extremists making these decisions and telling you, well, if you buy it, you're racist? Oh my goodness, I didn't know. How do you learn not to be?
Because you got 5,000 people making 400,000 posts about offensive.
And bots. There's also those bots they be sending out. This was also, I think Chris might have seen it. You guys we'll jump over to The Last of Us 2, the reviews.
Yeah.
They looked at reviews that like not only just review bombing, but the positive reviews, and people will put bots in for like I think 30 or 40% of the reviews were exact copy and paste of that just to bolster the score. Same could be happening with all of these cancel cultures. They could just be bots that are just making the numbers larger than they actually is,
which is wrong because it's changing and
It's
making
sending a false
rules
narrative.
and it's affecting all of us. And I firmly believe that the majority of us really just want to get along and do well and make the right choices. I really do.
That's the thing that Dave Chappelle had said. He said, like, the problem is if you pay attention to the media will have you thinking that it's blacks versus whites in the country.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is, like, 85% of the country is somewhere in the middle where most people just get along. Yeah. You'll have that percentage of the extreme on one side and the percentage of the extreme on the other side. Because those two small percentages scream so loud, it makes everybody else that's looking from the outside feel like there's like a split down the middle, and it's just not the case.
You need to find the logic. We need to come together. We need to be able to talk about issues that are real, not I'm offended by pancake batter. That's not, come on. When I use whatever's in the closet, whether it's what's on sale, and it's not offensive to me, and I don't mean to, if I wouldn't mean to offend anybody serving Aunt Jemima over Bisquick or something like that.
My issue is like, when somebody tells me something is offensive, but they don't tell me why, it's a problem for me. Because I didn't know Aunt Jemima was offensive until that came up a few months back. We did a podcast, I think maybe 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then we had to look it up, and it was like, the Aunt Jemima thing, there were several different people who like were modeled for Aunt Jemima. And I think the initial problem was the first person didn't make any money. It was like during slave times and their representation was used and they didn't make anything from it. And then there were like several different people after the fact. And way down the line, these people on the end of it made a lot of money. And they were like, well, it's offensive because this person was initially a slave. And then and I'm like, I get it. But is it really an issue right now? The fact that several different people have posed for this as this image of Aunt Jemima. Like, it's not like every person involved had a negative effect. Yeah. And then when you try to erase it all, you also, I get that you want to take away the negative aspect, but you also erase the positive aspect. So it's like essentially creating a blank slate and hurting some of the people who benefited.
And what's to say that as they're trying to brand their syrup, they looking for different people to actually, like, this person, this is Aunt Jemima to me, and they do it, like you say, underwear models. They're looking
Fruit
for
of the Loom guys. How is that offensive? Because one of the guys is
that's Fruit of the Loom.
With the
There's
grapes.
a Fruit of the Loom thing.
What?
Yeah, there's a Fruit of the Loom thing now.
Now,
what?
do you really? Are you
I am
offended
off
by
the loop,
your
man.
underwear? Because I don't buy it because I'm a woman. But do men look at that and say, "Oh my goodness, the man I identify ethnically with is a grape. I'm offended." And not by the underwear?
What?
Do you make those choices?
I'm just going to identify as a 6-year-old
I
giraffe and be offended by
I
every
know.
little
Like,
thing.
when I go into the store to buy underwear, my absolute main concern is, do they have my size?
Yes,
That is the
Am I
absolute-
comfortable?
Like,
Yeah.
Are they boxer briefs and they're my side? I like.
Does that junk sit comfortably?
Well, do you identify with one of the guys in the fruit
I
costume?
don't identify
no.
as any fruit or vegetable or meat.
I
product or
identify as an
whatever.
apple.
Well, maybe
You look like an apple in that red
maybe you
shirt.
wanted to identify with the guy. They don't even have a banana in there. At least with men, you'd think a banana would be in there, but
Yeah, sure. Where's the banana? I feel
in
like
the front.
we are the banana.
Like, I'm offended that there isn't a banana on the logo. Like, but that's
They
crazy.
do
I
have
didn't even
underwear.
And what
They
about some
have a
kiwis with the
thing
banana,
going.
you know?
I-
Seriously.
Yeah.
Mangoes. I want some mangoes.
Well,
I
to
didn't even know
add,
that was a thing.
to add on to what you were saying, Al, you said something that
Yeah,
I
you're
really
racist,
want to
Al.
add on to. You said something about how the loud few stand out so well.
Yeah.
Well, you know what the media does? That
They
feeds
listen
off
to
of that?
those loud.
They listen to the loud few, so they
And they
advertise
amplify
what
the
the
voice.
loud few are complaining
And
about.
can you
And
blame it that the
amplify
susceptible young folks view this and are altered by
line,
it?
and
Yeah,
sinker.
exactly.
Because that's everywhere you look, the
Yeah.
news is taking these stories. And back to the whole cancel culture. You want to finish your thought? I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah.
Just real quick though, it was just the fact that I just wanted to use a really quick example of what I told Al on the ride up here, because this is one thing I wanted to put in the podcast. Besides the food.
Okay. Right.
There was 7 recorded fights at Crossgates Mall in 4 weeks, and it was put on social media. Do you think the newscasts are not going to look at that? Do you think the newscasts are not going to see that? They're not going to look at that, and they're not going to have that perception? When you have 340 million people in America, they're going to have a perception of something because it's something they constantly see. You're posting literally, there was the fight that happened in the elevator that led to the girl getting stabbed, right? Then it was the 6 other fights, including a big brawl in the beef jerky store, right?
Over what?
Here's the kicker. Here's the kicker, right? Every single one of those fights, everything that happened, it was black people. Every single one. There was no... When that happens, there is a perception that is there. There is a fueling of a stereotype that's there, because actions have taken place, because in these actions, that is what's posted on social media. I did a little thing. I did a little bit of research myself, right? I looked at exactly 500 fight videos. 500. And I literally wrote down in a notebook, I tallied 500 fights, right? 480 of them were black.
Yes, but is the majority of the population in that area black?
No.
Okay.
And half those fight videos that were there that I tallied, half of them were not in low income areas.
You know what I get though? They highlight the fight and the stereotypes and everything like that, but they never really give you the context that led up to it.
They don't.
The context can mean a lot.
Exactly. The context means more than the fight itself.
Just because it's 2 blacks and it's 2 blacks, there could be a context. Maybe these are all not. It could be gang related retaliations against each other.
It could have been somebody did something to a family member.
Exactly.
You don't know the context.
You don't know.
But what happens is the media sees that and then perceives that as us being belligerent. You know what I mean? Why do they perceive it as that? Because of the fact that they look at what is shown on social media, and what's seen and shown on social media will go to the media, and then what goes to the media goes to the loud few. What goes to the loud few is going to hit all of us, and then we're going to look at that like, well, there we go again.
Because that sells. It's great for the
it feeds the narrative.
The narrative
that's trying to be pushed.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's the word, the narrative.
And people,
that I hear a lot, and I agree. It's all that's why some get more news than the others, because it's like, how can we use this? How can, again, like I said earlier, they get all of these stories, like which one will benefit us more? Which one is the big ticket here?
It's all about ratings.
And even if it's wrong, all they have to do is print a retraction. And it doesn't have to be on the front page. It can be anywhere in there.
It can be on page 6.
Whoops. I was a reporter for 5 years, and I learned so much. Because I worked for a smaller newspaper, so you get paid by the inch, and you get more money. And I did my own photos to make money too.
Really?
But you make
so
more money.
So you can really give us a perspective on this, then.
You make more money if your story makes it above the front page, but above the fold, because that is what is front and center, what people see and buy the paper on. Wow. So you make more money on that way. There was a ski resort that one of the lodges burnt down. And I was physically there with the fire marshal and the state, and they were determining cause of fire, right? Mm-hmm. Undetermined, because we were there investigating it. And I needed the money, so I covered every story that there was. So I'm writing it there. And one of the bigger papers printed their idea of what burnt that down. Their story was, and this was a sensationalism, that a homeless bum had broken in and probably started a fire, and that's what it all was, and burned it all down. So there's homeless vagrants breaking into places and burning it down. So this little old lady, Roberta, pulls up in a car, and we're all there with the state fire marshals, and I'm writing everything down for this investigation. And she rolls her window down, and she goes, "Bernie!" And Bernie's the fire chief. "Bernie! What are you doing out here?" And he says, "Well, Roberta, this is the state fire inspection, and we're inspecting to see the cause of fire." She goes, "Bernie, you obviously didn't get today's paper. It was a bomb that burnt it down. A bomb. You don't need to spend your time out there. It's already in the paper. It was a bomb that burned it down. We need to talk about the bum issues in town. There was no bum issues. It was because the building was old and lightning had struck it. It was purely
Coincidental.
due to lightning. So, of course, they printed a retraction, third page in, but for months later, it kept coming up in town that we needed to find out who this bum was. There was no
It
bum.
was probably that other journalist.
A wild
dressed in
goose
hobo
chase.
outfit.
But many times,
Probably. That's the key word, so now he can't sue me.
many times, other reporters
You have to say
would
allegedly.
not even.
Allegedly.
Allegedly
allegedly.
means probably.
From reliable sources. A lot of times reporters would not show up from other papers to do some stories, and yet they'd run the story the next day from reliable sources, which means that they called up so-and-so who showed up at the meeting and said, yeah, this is the recap, this is what kind of happened. And you know what happens. It's just like that game we play, Telestrations. It starts out one thing, and by the time it gets around, it's a whole nother thing.
It's the penis.
Yeah. It's always a penis.
So penis cannon.
Starts off as a sunny beach day and ends up as a penis. You know?
And all you have to do is say, oops, retraction, and you're fine with that.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So with a lot of stories that come out about, you know, a lot of the major issues, do you think that they post stories, and when they post stories, not whether it's on in the paper, whether it's in news and things like that, do they post stories that they know is going to trigger the masses?
Always.
Yeah.
Because what
Well,
it
that's the whole
does
point.
is
Fair sells.
it's inciting and getting people to react to the story
Yeah.
in one way or another. And it also has to do is that people write stories.
Yeah.
And so if I feel strongly about something, I'm going to put it in my narrative. It is very rare to find an objectional reporter who will show you both sides of the story equally and fairly. The words that you use to paint a picture
Are powerful.
are very powerful, and people, a good writer knows how to use those. It's just like Stephen King; he gets in your head.
Yeah, he does.
He paints.
Brandon.
You wanna
His
look-
books are crazy.
right? And you want to look under your bed before you go to bed after reading them because you're thinking, "Oh, did I hear this? Did I hear that?" Because it stays with you.
Yeah.
And a good journalist or a good writer, they're going to do that, and that's what gets people talking about it. I knew that when I did a good story, I'd have somebody come up and say, "I love that piece you did on that. That was wonderful." I could almost like taste the pies at the fair or something like that because what I would write to, and then I would know as a writer, I did it. I transported what I saw and felt onto paper to you. But that's a powerful control and thing to do.
Yeah.
When you put down a book, like we read that Stephen King book,
11/22/63 about John F. Kennedy's assassination.
oh my goodness, that
Man,
book,
that was powerful.
it was powerful. It made us think, it made us talk about it and cry, and words and writers, they bring out so much in people. And that's very powerful. And again, trying to find the truth in today's news is hard. That's why I listen to Al, I listen to him. And after you guys go, I'll be like, Al said this, and I really want to know exactly what was said so I could do that. But I can't just go to one news source and see the same exact thing. Oh no, they redacted this and they only put this, but this was what led to that.
Yeah.
As if I'm so stupid that if I was given the whole story, I couldn't come to an intelligent decision.
The whole
And I
point is
hate
the reason
that.
they do that, the reason this stuff is redacted, is because they don't want you to have the whole story.
No.
Because if you have the whole story, you'll come to your own conclusion. They want to be able to control the conclusion you come to.
Absolutely.
So it's redacted.
So I have a
Half of it
question
is
for
missing.
both of you. Then. So this is going to compound my question even more. Remember on the media, Al, when Philando Castle got killed, right? In the passenger seat of the car,
Yeah.
right? In front of the mom, in front of the daughter. which was devastating, right? Because he was fully compliant with the officer and he was still killed. Fully compliant. He had his hands on his legs. He had full on interaction and words with the police officer, and he obeyed every single command. Yet still took two to the chest and died in front of his kid. Right? That barely got media coverage. Barely.
The
right?
only reason we knew about it was because she went on Facebook Live.
Exactly. The only reason that we knew about it. But there was another video that was surfaced about George Floyd. That was also surfaced, right?
Is that the one with they show the full camera footage from the?
Yeah, the body cam was shown about that, but that was way after the fact. The body cam was shown way after the fact that the cop indeed had no reason to do it. But the video of when it happened to Philando Castle, when it actually showed that he took two to the chest, and when he had his hands on his legs, and the only reason why he reached his hand up was to cover the gunshot wound. Like, who wouldn't do that? You know,
it's a reflex.
It's a reflex to cover up something that hurts. You know what I mean? So it's like, but that didn't have so much of an impact in our communities, and we didn't uprise nearly as much. But this is why I want to get both of you involved in this. Do you think that the media knew when they were releasing stories about George Floyd? Because George Floyd is kind of a similar situation because he, once again, killed by law enforcement. You know what I mean? And do you think that when the media released that story in such a big manner that they knew it was going to spark the outrage that it did, and that's why they released it the way they did?
Here's my take on it is this, and this is just an
because
opinion.
Philando Castle's crazy too. He died in front of his kid, fully compliant with the officer.
Yeah. The thing with George Floyd is what made that take off is the fact that the people that were there that recorded it posted it to social media, and it took off on social media first before mainstream media got a hold of it.
Yeah.
So it was already something being talked about.
Yeah.
So people were already developing feelings before mainstream media said, hey, this thing happened.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's one of them things that would have still gained traction. I think I doubt that the effect would have been different, even if all the major media players, if they had said we're not going to report this, I feel like it would have had the same effect, but the effect might have been more because people might have felt like, oh, why isn't the media talking about this?
Yeah.
Like if the media didn't report, people might have taken it as this is a cover up and why aren't they saying anything?
Yeah.
And it might have even had a worse effect. Who knows? Like Philando Castile, like watching that video,
it was disturbing.
It is disturbing.
It's disturbing.
The nicest way to put it is disturbing. Because if you could watch somebody be fully compliant and tell a police officer, I have a weapon on me, I also have a permit to carry it. Officer says, don't reach for anything. He says, I'm not reaching. Officer fires on him and kills him. His baby girl and his fiance has to watch him die and spend the next however many hours crying at the police station because they still are arrested and brought in for questioning. That to me is like the most traumatizing thing anybody could go through.
But my question,
the fact that his name still got brought up, even though the media didn't carry it as hard as they did with George Floyd.
Yeah,
people still talked about it. People were still offended by it, but
there wasn't the uprising, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
But didn't the timing just feel a little bit too perfect, though? Like in a media, in a person who's been in the media field, doesn't the timing seem a little bit too perfect? Because they knew it was going to spark something. Because when people are cooped up for so long because of COVID-19, don't you think that it was going to spark something?
Before you answer this, I definitely want to add to that. And this is my very first thought when all this protesting and this happened. I was like, we've been cooped up so long. All this aggravation from losing jobs or can't go back to work, make money, your kids are starving, all of this. And this was the fuse that just blew it all up.
People were stressed out.
Yeah, they were already stressed out, and this, well, again, this was the media used it. Like, okay, let's pull the trick, and that's my very first reaction. I'm like, people had enough of all of this COVID bullshit, and this was the fuse that just set everyone off, and that's my very first thought. And I pretty much stick with
I'm
that.
glad you're thinking just like me with that.
That
I'm
was
glad.
my very first thought. I'm like, I even looked at Karen. I was like, people just had enough. They can't take this locked up shit no more. It's like the whole country's in prison for the most part, due to be safety problem. But that's what actually happened. What people perceive and how they feel. Like we're in prison. We're being locked down.
Yeah.
We're losing jobs. We're fine up in this area, but we have people back on Discord saying that they have families that are starving where they live, where it's bad, and they can't get help and everything like that. So that was my very first thought, but I'm sorry, continue.
No, the media spins this because you can't, as a reporter, you can't just walk in and say, boom, here's my story, it's printed tomorrow. It goes through your editor and editor-in-chief. They edit, make it decide, or they'll cancel the story right there. There are many times that I wrote fluff pieces, things about good stuff. Somebody that donated money or was doing this or a good thing. And they're like, yeah, that's nice, but we just got this story in about this mass murder and stuff. We're running that,
Yeah.
because that sells.
Yeah.
And it's
Conflict
hard.
sells.
Yes.
Yes, it does. And they're in a business
Fear
to make
sells.
money. Fear sells. Fear sells. People don't like feel good, warm, loving Hallmark
I do.
stories.
You can't control the population when they're at peace.
No.
Think back to 9/11. That color scale that George Bush will constantly, we're at yellow, we're at orange today, terror alert, this level, that level.
Keeps your
People,
adrenaline up there.
keep going up and down the scale, and that amount of stress and adrenaline, it wears you down until you just like, I can't take this anymore.
Yeah.
Now, could
Yeah.
we have been channeled as a nation to something more positive? Yeah. During wars, some leaders, they used to do V for Victory Garden, and so they'd have the whole country galvanized in growing gardens and making food and, do this. And they'd have all these war posters about, recycle, save your metal. Some of them were not so great because they'd have, save your scrap and kill a Jap. That's not good nowadays, but back then
It was acceptable at the time.
but it was galvanizing and directing the nation in a stressful time. And the news took this and they ignited exactly what they wanted to.
Well, like I said, Carlton, I'm really glad that we're on the same page with that because that's exactly how I felt. But there is an underlying issue that nobody seems to talk about. And we got really deep into the conversation before the podcast started recording. And the deep concern for me personally is the fact that, and I talk about this will probably be like the fifth or sixth time that I said this over the past 20 something episodes that this has been aired, but accountability is my biggest
Big
thing.
time. Big time.
Nobody wants to be
You
accountable.
know
Exactly.
what? Accountability, like I always thought the best form of punishment is public humiliation, shame. Bring these people out into the light and you shame them in such a way that they can't help. They have to face the truth.
Yeah.
And I believe in accountability. I did law enforcement in the Coast Guard. I learned my role and I did everything I could when I had to do boardings and everything.
Yeah.
Even when there was suspicious attitude. And even though I'm not law enforcement, I thought about law enforcement. It sickens me that there's people like that. I believe in justice, truth, justice. I believe in that.
Yeah.
And when there's people who tarnish the good that can be done with this, it sickens me. I don't care. For me, it's not about skin color. It's about the person.
Yeah.
And if you are a piece of shit, I'm going to treat you like a piece of shit. And I'm going to tell you it. And like I said, for this, I think about it and I can't shake my head. It's like, why do people have to be this way?
Yeah.
And I think, sometimes I think back to my psychology and I go back to Sigmund Freud, how he talk about our base desires is just aggression and sex.
Yeah.
And I think just these people that are like this have not evolved, to a point they lash out. And again, they're using their positions where they can abuse the weak. There
Okay.
are always going to be people like that throughout history, and I'm not saying it's fair.
Yeah.
And we can never fully purge this, but we have to do better.
Yeah.
That's
100%.
we have to do better. Accountability.
Yeah.
And it's hard because even with these masks and stuff, something basic, and we're all experienced with this, you get two types of responses. Two types of responses. People either are like all for it, understanding, very good, or they are not.
And they're nasty about it too.
Yes,
nasty.
but what's driving it, and you have two responses, is fear.
Yeah.
I don't care how big you talk, it's still a bottom line of fear. Fear that it's changed your life, fear that you don't know what's going on, and fear, okay, you're not wearing a mask. What happens if you're the wrong one? We can all take off our mask and say, yeah, we were extra safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the weird thing about people being like adamant against the mask is this. If I wear the mask, even if the mask is useless, wearing it does not hurt in any way.
Right.
The people that are saying, I won't wear the mask because I'm not a sheep and I don't have to, the problem with that is, what is the point you're trying to make? You've basically conformed to every other rule. Like, every other rule that has been created, you're like, they tell you, you need a license, you go get a license. Wear your seatbelt, you wear your seatbelt. Don't run in the hallway, you don't run in the hallway. Stop at the traffic sign, you stop at the traffic sign.
No swimming after you eat for 30
and
minutes.
you'll follow every other rule, but they say, wear this mask for the safety of everybody. I'm not wearing this mask. This is against my personal rights, and what's the point? What is the point you're trying to make? Because if you wear the mask, even if it does nothing, it can't hurt you. And if somebody says wear the mask because it helps, try it out. Just try it for a little bit.
But they're acknowledging when they don't wear it and they're against it. What they're hoping is that the virus is not real. It is not out there. It is not killing people. And if I don't wear a mask, I make it so. If I wear the mask, then I'm acknowledging that there is a health concern out there. And that's scary. And so denial is something that a lot of people use.
I hadn't even thought of that, but you're right. You're right. Because it's like, if I wear this mask, I'm conceding to this virus.
You
And this
are.
is a real danger
that's-
and not just some
And
conspiracy
those
theory.
people
I'm
that
not part
aren't
of-
are the scaredest ones of us all and need the most compassion. But it is so hard when you are getting screamed and yelled at by these people. It is so hard to reach inside you and be a better person. And I'll admit, it's very hard because every day I'm dealing with it on the front line, people yelling and being nasty about it. And I'm like,
And she never closed either. They never closed her
never.
job.
Oh, you've
So,
been essential the whole time, like Best Buy?
Everybody,
All
all
the vets closed and sent their
everything
stuff
around
to
her.
us, and I had two of my girls walk off because it was just so much for them that they would break down in tears because we don't know, they still don't know. Like, I look for information on how this is affecting the animals. Cats are much more susceptible and can pass it more quickly. And it says on the CDC that you should keep your cats inside, that they shouldn't be out because they can catch it easily from one to another.
Yeah.
And it's more severe and they can die from it. And they have saliva and they lick on their fur and it drops on your bed and all this other stuff. That's kind of scary. I stopped doing cats because one of the vets that closed, they took a cat and tested positive, and they closed the whole vet for the whole day and sanitized everything. I'm like, okay. So I have people come in with Fluffy wrapped in a blanket off their bed and say, here, can you cut Fluffy's nails? And I'm like, I have to hold the cat like this in this blanket from your bed and do no, I don't know medically how to, maybe everything's fine, but I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
Dogs, we make them take off their leashes and their collars and swap out to ours so we're not cross-contaminating anything that's porous, following basic medical practice because we don't know. And take it and then we wash the dog off right there because how many people sleep with their pets? A lot.
Yeah.
And they don't know enough about humans spreading it. Never mind animals. You get something saying, oh yeah, this monkey or these lions tested positive in this zoo over there. And I'm like, okay, so whatever happened to those lions? I haven't seen that on the news anytime.
They're probably dead.
Yeah, more than likely. They're probably euthanized.
So you don't know that. So the vets all closed down, and they said, go to her instead. And I'm like, okay.
So I
That's
have.
fucking the danger zone.
I think Chris has something to say too.
Oh, you did? Chris?
I'm not sure we went from Redskin culture to George Floyd. I'm not sure how that happened.
I mean, hey, we got a
It's
bunch
train of
issues to talk
thoughts.
I don't know, it's
One
just
thing
like-
they said, hell, I was going to get back to a statement on cancel culture, but
I was
then
kind of
I
trying to
just.
keep track of like the
But
best.
I do have a question for Carlton and Al,
Okay.
though. Like a combination of a question.
All right, and then we
Anybody
can-
can get involved in this because this is a deep question. I want us to be. Well, I want us to do a little bit of role play right now. I want us to be politicians.
Whoa,
I know.
Relax.
Too many penises. for
Let me
that.
finish my sentence. Let me finish my sentence before you stop
It's
me.
a
Okay.
joke.
We are all going to role play as politicians. Okay. All right. So obviously we can't really change anything as being blue collar workers. You know, we can't really change much as being in a sense regular citizens. What would you do, like in this COVID-19 situation, right? If you had the power to do anything to rectify current situations, for example, let me put two specific situations out there right now. To enforce the current regulations of what COVID-19 is doing for us, because the whole mask wearing thing is really not that serious, and it really is to comply with that. Makes everybody's life a lot easier, but people don't want to do it because when you give the American people a choice, people are not going to choose the option that they believe is inconvenient to them. That's just what it is. That's human nature. We are not going to choose what's inconvenient for us, right? But yet you're a politician now. You have all the authority,
absolute power.
you have, yes, in a sense you do. You have the absolute power right now to mandate these regulations. Right? These COVID-19 regulations. That's one scenario. The other scenario is that once again, in the past 5 years, we've with reports suggest over 2,000 police killings. And in the very next country, the only country even closest to us is Spain with like 236. What do you do as a politician? What would you lay on the table to change things?
Well, you're not going to like my answer because I've thought about this, and if I had absolute power, I would lock everybody in their homes for 2 weeks with steady supply of food so that they're fed, water, basic necessities until the shit went away. That's the first thing. Lock everybody down.
Like China or like any other country.
And, I mean, it's not realistic, but it's like we need at least 2 to 3 weeks to stop this. If everyone's in their home or in a safe space for 2-3 weeks, they have food, water, internet, basic necessities, just to get I know it's not realistic and it's a little extreme, but it's like you get to the point where this needs to stop.
Yeah.
So I'm like, just lock everybody down and then get rid of COVID. As for the other issue, again, this is something I thought about, and I'm not too. It's just a complete rewriting of various laws and regulations. Like for me, officers, they would be extremely screened. Everything training would be hierarchical. They'll have trainings in psychology, training in human relationships, training in whatever other departments that need to be, or even if they don't receive training, have departments added to the. I forgot what I watched this, and I agree with this. Where okay, cops can't be everything. So if they can't be everything, maybe they should have like someone there who's a psychologist that helps with domestic abuse. Someone who's there who deals with people who are coming crashing from the drugs. Someone there like, well, you can't do this to this person. He's crashing, so you need to be aware of these symptoms. He's not being crazy. This is just him crashing. With the George 4, the recent video they shows, like if they had a doctor there who would told this police officer, this is the signs of him from what he's dealing with, things could have been different. Of course, the police training could be different too. I'm not taking anything from that.
Yeah.
I would also attack the politicians themselves, the ones that been in office for so long, they have all of this capabilities. I mean, our four founding fathers, they have some incredible insight on what they said would and could happen, and we're seeing it. Like the government trying to take the guns away from the public and everything like that. I mean, I read the I forgot what it's called. Give me a second. I don't want to say the Ten Commandments. What is it called again?
Amendments.
Thank you.
Amendments.
And thank you. Commandments, amendments. And I'm just like, wow, they had such foresight. I mean, again, my view of this is extreme. It's just because I'm fed up with all of this. And
Your view isn't that extreme, though.
It's not.
oh,
That's
really?
the reason- it's not. It's not.
That's good to know. To me, I felt as extreme, but it's like this needs to be
worse.
done, and it needs to be done. You know, I always believe in strict discipline.
Yeah.
Correct strict discipline. And I just like this. They may not like it now, but this shit needs to be done, and it needs to be taken care of, and then we can get back to normal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of. I mean, I've thought about this a lot. I have a huge list, and I've actually thought about how can I do it, but I don't want to violate human rights. But I said there's certain extreme steps that need to be taken. You ever watch the movie, what is it, Outbreak and Contagion with Matt Damon?
Oh, Jesus Christ. That was a good movie, though.
Yeah.
I like that movie.
Sometimes, I mean, this COVID is not bad at that, you know, but if shit got worse and it was as bad at that, something has to happen. Something has to happen, but I'm glad, like, it's not too extreme, but I think I'm just fed up with it.
It's something that should have happened in the middle of March.
Yeah,
and
should
we would
have
have
been.
already been back to normal.
I mean, we should have need to
to
lock down anyways, but again, I told you guys before, I talked to my another one supervisor, and she's like, "Oh, you think we'll be back in a few weeks?" I'm like, "You clearly underestimate the stupidity of Americans." I said that to her, and here we are months later, you know, and I'm. That's just how I feel, you know.
You know, it's a really
Lock
good
people
response.
down for 3 weeks. Provide them with what they need. I mean, if they have food, water, they don't have to worry about their bills because everything's paused. The whole country just paused, and they can just have the basic necessities they need to survive for 3 weeks. It's not going to be pleasant. Shit's done, though.
Yeah.
Shit's done. And
What
like I
about
said,
you, Al? That was a great response, by the way.
I agree with everything he said, with the exception of I would lengthen it out. Instead of a 3-week process, I would make it a 2-month process where people are absolutely locked down.
I would have been. I did start at 2 months, but I'm like, you know what? They said 3 weeks. Oh, they said 2 weeks. I'll give it 3
Incubation period was
weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, but
I would lock everybody down for 2 months, 2 solid months. I would, however, in that 2-month span, I would put out a stimulus package where everybody would make $1,000 a week for that 2-month span, right?
oh, that's nice.
Then,
Well, that's why my alternative would have to just pause all payments, where you don't have to pay bills, you're not getting income, but you're not spending it.
I want you to pay your bill. I want your bills paid, and I want you to be able to pay your bills. But if I'm mandating that you be out of work, I'm going to make sure you're still able to afford a normal life. So I would make sure they're out of work for 2 weeks. Everybody would get a stimulus package where I would pay $1,000 a week for that 2-month span. Then after 2 months, I would mandate masks. I would write it into law where you would have to wear a mask outside of your house within a certain span of time. If you're outside your house between the hours of 5 a.m. to 6 p.m., a mask is necessary. I would implement a curfew after 6 p.m. And that's going to be for another 1 month span of time. So I'm hoping that within that 3-month span, I could eradicate this virus, right? I could knock
drastically
it out,
reduce
or
the
drastically
numbers.
reduce it. And after that, I'll see where we're at. And as a nation, if we're at a space where the virus is reduced enough that things can go back to normal, I would let everything go back to normal and see what happens. And if in that space of time we go back to normal, it spikes up again, I would repeat the process, right? And I would just do it just to make sure that even though I'm forcing you to stay home, you could pay your bills, and I'm trying to keep everybody safe. And I would repeat that process as much times as I would have to until the virus is completely gone. But I doubt, I feel like in that 3-month span, we would have defeated the virus.
Yes.
In that span of time where everybody is isolated and away from each other and nobody's spreading the virus. And then when we do come back out after 2 months, everybody is wearing gloves, wearing masks, and cleaning and sanitizing. I feel like in that 3-month span, we would definitely have defeated the virus. In terms of what I would do for policing, honestly, I wouldn't be too harsh on the police as they exist now. I would definitely make drastic changes to the police station. I would create serious oversight. I'm telling you right now, I would write into law things that would absolutely like. There's. I can't even like. My brain is spinning with the potential of what I would do.
I want to hear. I want to hear.
Does absolute power corrupt absolutely?
It's a dangerous line because in my head, what I'm thinking is like borderline dictatorship. Like it's not. It wouldn't be. It would be insane to try to just hamstring the police force.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't try to eradicate them. I just don't want them having this absolute authority to go out into the country and
Take lives.
kill somebody and then say I felt endangered or whatever. You can't like the body cam was a good idea. I would mandate that body cams be regularly checked and make sure that they are maintained and in proper working order at all time. I never want to have an incident where when I ask for body cam footage, I have to hear, well, my body cam wasn't working that day or it wasn't on that day or whatever. Like your body cam not being on would result in severe discipline. Body cams not working would result in severe discipline for whoever is in charge of making sure they're working. And whenever a police takes a life, there would be a heavy investigation. And if the investigation determines that it was justifiable, normal procedure happens after that. Whatever psychiatric works he needs or whatever he has to do to get back to service is fine. If it's found that it was not justifiable, then this guy
questionable.
This is why I want body cams on everybody, because I don't want to have to rely on your perspective of what happened or your report of what happened. I want to be able to pull body cam footage from all officers on the scene and get a comprehensive picture of what transpired in this moment. When I come to the conclusion that this was not, like this was an unnecessary killing, I'm going to be able to stand in a court of law, in a courtroom, in front of a judge or a jury or whoever, and say this is why this was not justifiable. Right? I want to say that when this guy pulled the trigger and he killed this person, I want to be able to definitively say this was a justified homicide and this was not. Right? And if it's not justified homicide, you are going to face the full extent of the law. Like everything is coming down on you because you have essentially just committed murder, which is something you are put out there to stop or curtail from happening. Right? So
you're asking for more funding to be able to afford that.
Even if I have to throw more funding at it, like my issue isn't funding the police. My issue is funding the police without results. Like when the police force walks in and says, we need $500 million this year to do these things, and then we fund that money, but crime is still on the rise in this bad neighborhood.
That's a problem.
Then it's a problem because I'm throwing this money at you and you're not producing results. And it doesn't make sense that we spend hundreds of millions of dollars a year for police to...
Do you think it is cheaper to throw money at the police to police these neighborhoods than it is for the town or the city to come up with a revitalization plan and bring businesses in and real programs that make a difference?
That is a really good question.
I'm going to be honest with you.
That is a really good question.
It might be or it might not be. I honestly don't know. That on my part would require a lot of research.
Because
that is
if
a good
you
question.
keep having crime in the area, all the police are doing is enforcing the law. And it's control things. And it's just like as a parent, kids, if you got two kids smushed together in the backseat of the car, you're going to hear, he's touching me, he's touching me, he's touching me. Now, my father would say, I can reach back and smack both of you without even swerving this car. And if it happens again, and I pull this car over, one of you are going to die. It's just the way it's going to be. And my father was military. And he kept to his word. So if we kept horsing around, it was not going to be good. Now, if it was somebody else driving the car, maybe it would be a different story and we just keep doing it. But if you took one kid and you put him up in the front seat and the other kid in the back seat, that ended the problem. So what is it cheaper to create a policing net to say, we're containing this, but we're not dealing with the issue. Do we need to revitalize? Do we need to, bring this in?
Rec centers.
Rec centers and
Those
things
things
like
would be-
that? Because that costs money and time and effort.
Well, those things would be good, but on top of that, what I think really needs to happen in bad communities is we need to put people that are in positions of power. We need to find the right type of people. We need to find the type of person that would actually sit down with the police force and actually talk to community leaders and show up in communities and explain to people that live in these communities that this is what we want to happen. We want to revitalize the community. We want to support the police. We want to lower crimes. We need you guys that live here to help us. If you help us, we will do everything we can to make this place a better living situation for you, your family, and your neighbors.
Because
that's
you're
what needs to
investing
happen.
in a community. And when you invest in a community, it's not just one person's responsibility to do that.
It's not.
Everybody's. And I'm sure that they've done that in different towns across America where it's been successful and works. But everybody has to be in for it. It can't just be throw money at the police and keep it contained because we don't want it on this side of the street.
Well, I'm going to add
That's,
to what you were saying, Karen. You said something.
That's my fault.
A combination of both of what you said needs to happen. There needs to be other programs that's set into place, but there also needs to be another thing that nobody said about the police officers that need to happen. That's honestly an immediate thing. Is if you, as a police officer, have numerous reports already, like as of right now, if I have a folder this thick of problems, reports, and things that I've happened, especially if it's racial tension, especially with that, because you know how big that is around here. If you see the pattern, what needs to happen is go through the folders of people that have these complaints, go through the folders of these people that have incidences, and see the patterns of things that's happening. Sometimes when you do psych evaluations on these cops, they'll tell you whatever you want to hear to get them to get their badge back. You know what I'm saying? But if you see a pattern and you sit them down along with the police commissioner and say, listen, we see a pattern with you here. You know what I mean? And this pattern is something that we can't have this on our police force. You know what I mean? Because you're causing that same tension to continue to rise. Personally, we're holding you responsible for creating this tension because your folder is this thick. You know what I'm saying? With the same issues that we've been having.
And I can see that too, especially if he's had these incidents and he continues to patrol the same neighborhoods. It's gonna demoralize the community. Like, why is he still out? We know he's bad.
Exactly.
Why is he still walking around? And they're gonna associate him with the entire police force because he's still out there walking around.
Reassignments needs to happen.
Yeah. It's no different than having the wrong manager. And we've all experienced this in our own workplace. When you have the wrong manager in the wrong job, you can't, the manager that never wants to deal with anything. Well, let's see how it works out tomorrow. Yeah, I know, but he's not such a bad guy. I don't have anybody else to replace him. The one that makes all the excuses and never does anything. We've all worked under somebody like that. Mm-hmm. And it frustrates us, and it frustrates the customer, and all the way around. Nothing gets done because you have the wrong person in the wrong position, or they're not trained. So many times I've been thrown into jobs with no training, and you're learning as you're going and knowing that you're making mistakes and having no support. So there's so many issues that defunding and taking away money and resources is not going to fix.
Yeah.
You're talking about training and education and more things. That takes money.
Exactly.
And you cut more and more, you're not going to get better because these people are overworked and they're stretching gaps, and people are going to feel unappreciated. And when you don't feel appreciated, you're not going to give it 100%. And things fall apart. And even at work, we've worked in those situations before. We know how it feels.
That is pretty good. Chris, you have anything to say, or you have anything else?
No,
I think we've been on this topic long
Yeah,
enough.
we
I think we can move on to something else.
What
I don't want to.
dating and Tinder.
Yeah, I don't want to cut it short. I mean, this is pretty deep.
No,
we can talk about it.
I just wanted to.
We can talk about this for hours,
Yeah.
but let's,
I just wanted to hear like the deep,
Yeah.
like if
The
we could
deep
generate an
analyst.
immediate result.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know what you guys would do to generate an immediate result, because we can talk about the problems
yeah.
all day about anything. We can talk about problems with dating apps. You know what I'm saying? We can talk about problems with, we can talk about problems with getting in an argument with people on social media. We can talk about any of those things, but we don't talk about results. You know what I'm saying? We don't talk about.
I'll
the
talk
sort of
about results. Let's talk about results on Chris' next article that it has.
Well, the whole thing with the COVID shit, like you said, Carlton, is that I think the problem is other countries, why they laugh at us for it, because I think people overall in this country, we're too fucking entitled and too spoiled,
Oh, yeah.
and we have too many freedoms, and that's just the issue. Because the government does a lot of stupid shit, but we've all seen that the problem is the average American person is fucking stupid. And it's like, if my son catches the flu, I don't say, Christian, do you want to stay home? Or I want to ask my kids permission. Do you want to stay home? No. As a parent, you got the flu. You're staying home. I'm not going to send you to school because, Daddy, I don't want to stay home. No. Because if you go to school, now you're going to affect half your damn school with this shit. The problem with the COVID shit is, like you said, instead of locking everything down, well, let's ask the average American person. Let's ask their permission to wear a mask. You don't ask people.
And it doesn't help,
you
too,
tell
when we-
people, listen, assholes. The whole fucking country is going to wear some masks. You're not leaving your house for a month. If you don't like it, then go to jail and shut the fuck up. But we are too busy asking permission instead of actually doing it. It's like Al said, you enforce the curfews. You don't ask for a curfew. You tell people there's a curfew. You're not leaving your house only for essential stuff, and that's it. But then you have millions and millions of people who are like, well, fuck the government, fuck the cops. And this is why our country versus the rest of the world, everyone else is laughing at us for. Because in other countries, these guys don't ask you. They tell you.
Yep.
It's here's $1,000 a week. You're sitting home for the next fucking 2 months. And if you don't like it, go to jail. That's it. And guess what? Every other country, their schools are already open. Their business is already open. Every other country is fucking laughing at us because we're too busy asking permission and being so goddamn liberal. Because remember, there was a time period, we all know it. When you grew up, if you're a bad kid, you got smacked on your ass. Nowadays, smack your kid on your ass, it's CPS is involved. And this is why our crime rates are going up for, our spoiled, rotten kids are going up for, because we're too busy babying people.
Participation awards. Yay.
See, I only have one question to that. When does our human rights literally trample everyone else's? Okay, you don't want to wear a mask. Say you do get 100 plus people sick. You owe those 100 plus people because you're selfish. You're not that entitled that your action is going to hurt these people. I understand people think that it was deliberately released because they're trying to
Point fingers.
one side and the other are trying to do some conspiracy to rig the election because from home we can't vote or mail in. I don't care what either says. Shut the hell up. That's not helping the problem. But we do have too many rights, and at points it's hindering the rights of others. It's how many months now? We're 5.
It's
going
all
on
become a
6.
blur. Sometimes I don't know what day it
I
is
don't
anymore.
know. And yet you still see people recording themselves. I can't believe this person at Costco would not take my doctor's excuse. I have a medical problem. I cannot wear a mask.
Exactly.
What's that problem? You need to talk to my doctor. No, shut up.
Because
I was telling Karen, like, if you have a medical excuse, you should wear a lanyard around your neck with a card that you can display.
Like a handicap
Like,
sticker.
yeah, exactly. Or a service dog. You have to have a certificate to show that this is a service animal to show.
Yeah.
You can't just say it. Like, oh, you got a medical condition. We'll stay around a car. Okay, thank you.
They do that at Home Depot. Like,
Yeah.
you have to have the paperwork
Really?
on you for the service dog.
Oh, I thought you were talking about...
For the COVID-19 regulations, you
Yeah.
actually have to have paperwork that service dog is actually your service dog.
Oh, I
In a
was
lot
all
of
you talking
places.
about. They had lanyards that said they can't wear the mask. Because I was like, wow, that's really good.
Well, in a couple places, at Best Buy, there was I actually seen somebody do that. Like they actually had like a medical excuse of why
Well,
they
that's good.
couldn't.
There's a
restrict.
responsible person. They're like,
Yeah.
I will on it.
It's rare. It's very rare.
Very rare. Very rare. Yeah.
I don't
it's
think
there.
we have too many rights. I think that people view that they have more rights than they really do. I mean, you have some basic rights, and they bring it out to the extreme that their rights preempt everybody else's. And that's not true.
Well, that's the problem, but we do have too many rights because if the mandate was you cannot, like Carlton said, leave your house within, like, say 20 feet wearing a mask, then this shit would have been over with. But we've given to people, okay, like in my job, for example, why is my job not enforcing fucking masks? Yeah,
but yet your state is.
Yeah, because our
does.
job is telling people you have the right to enter our vehicles without a damn mask. That's the fucking problem. We're giving people too many. That's a problem with laws and governments and civil society. Is yes, people have freedoms, but also you have to have laws to protect the common person. It's like you don't have, and this becomes constantly misconstrued with social media. It's like I'm an American. How often do you hear I'm an American citizen? I can do XXX. Just because you're an American citizen doesn't mean you can be a fucking asshole. I mean, it's seriously, because
not.
just because you're an American citizen,
I can see why the world would think America is racist, because the definition of racism is being superior to everyone else. So if you go to another country, you're pretty much being superior to them.
Yeah, and talk to people people come to this country and back to their countries like, wow, Americans are fucking entitled.
Yeah,
and we truly fucking are.
And look at our way of living. We have many more convenience that a lot of countries don't even have. Some countries don't even have running water.
Yeah.
That's a given.
Yeah. Well, and I've said before in this podcast, people
Flint
talk about
County.
like all the things that we complain about. It's just like I've told people, you think, I live here and I'm going to complain about XXX. And it's like, go over to, India or Afghanistan or Egypt and like the shit you're bitching about, you self-entitled prick. It's like, I'm like, I'm only like, I have air conditioners. I can go freaking get a Pepsi at the local corner store. I can go see a freaking movie and shit. How many people are fucking, there's children that are dying of starvation. They can't get running water and like, oh, I hate my job because I had to work 40 hours this week. Fuck, I'm tired. I'm like, really? Yeah, there's kids that are making sneakers and iPhones that are working 19-hour days in a goddamn factory, and you're bitching because you're on your computer for 8 to fucking 10 hours typing out tax reform or some shit. God, I'm so exhausted. I'm like, I know you are exhausted because, again, those people in friggin' Zimbabwe, they're making 12 cents an hour. They're just lazy compared to you. Like,
I think it comes down to people don't have the balls to enforce their rules and laws. That's what it comes down to. They're like, oh, these people are yelling at us on Twitter, hashtagging my name.
No. Do anything you do now, if you say anything against it, it comes up as a is or a phobe.
Yeah. No,
if you say anything against any human right, you're, because I'm a woman, you're sexist. Oh, because I'm gay, which I didn't even know you're gay when I said this. Now you're, homophobe.
They should enforce the rules.
Al talked about, but Bill Burr made
out.
that joke on his last comedy special. Bill Burr's like, I never realized how bad the average liberal white American woman had it. And then he did a whole special about him, these fucking liberal white American women, the shit you bitch about, honey, by all means, go move to somewhere else. And you want to see how fucking bad women got across this globe, and the shit you bitch about in your white picket fence, New Hampshire, Vermont, wherever fuck you coming from, the shit you guys complaining about, go move over there and see what actual women are really fucking going through. And it's the things you complain about. Like it's crazy.
There's 206 sovereign states in the world. 180 of them have freedom. You bet you them 26 will probably kill you for trying to speak out against a single
not
right.
You guys here, but like even like our Mark, for example, I would just say like when I came out of friggin' prison, like, and just minor things, but things he would complain about. I'm like, dude, you know what I've dealt with for the past 3 years of my fucking life, and the shit you got the balls to fucking complain about. You can take a shit by yourself. You can shower by yourself. You can go get a cheeseburger at McDonald's. You know what I've been through for the fucking past 3 years? Like, and since I've been out of prison, which is like Carlton said in a previous podcast, I think every fucking single person in this whole goddamn nation, like we mentioned before the podcast, Sweden, and Karen said this too, that were talking about that they would force their citizens to have guns, join the military. This is the problem with Americans. Americans, people who never worked a retail job, people who never served the military, people who've never done jail time. You don't realize how fucking spoiled you have it. Like, go do a month in state prison and then come complain about, how bad your 9-to-5 job is. Go spend some time in the military and see what real hard work is and shit. Go live in a third world country. We are just so fucking entitled and spoiled.
Well, there's some third world countries that are actually better than Americans right now.
they're
Yeah, I don't
not-
think that's the terminology used anymore. Third world country.
Yeah,
There's
because
something-
there's some third world countries that's better than this supposed
financially,
superpower.
but
So
we're not the superpower we used to be neither.
we're not the country we used to be. We lost our heart, our soul years ago. We,
Yeah, because
we're
that's-
we're number one in the world in so many things that
It's almost
doesn't
like what
matter.
Elliot said. The problem is everything now. There's yes, your guys' area is one area, but like as a country and stuff, the average fucking how many communities aren't like this? Everything is me, 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 me.
Oh, and that's what-
it's not
that is what's
it's not love thy
changed.
neighbor. It's not helping your neighbors. It's like no, it's me, my stuff, my family, my kids,
Me
my
versus
my
my neighbors.
No, I mean, and it's all over. It's been education
Yep.
that in the last 10 to 15
That's-
years, little things,
Decline.
little things that you don't even realize because you're not in the education. When I first started teaching, if you get head lice, you go home
Yeah.
because
Don't come back
Yeah.
until it's
it
gone.
spreads to other people.
Yeah, and fast forward to
Nowadays,
2020 though, yeah.
The rules are
How
if
dare
your
you make me
kid
stay
has
home?
head lice, they get to stay at school because to separate them will make them feel bad about themselves. And head lice, yeah, they're like bed bugs or whatever, and they're in, but they're not like a disease, so it's okay. So now you can send your kid in. You don't even have to treat it. You can infect everybody in the classroom, and you're stuck with the kid with the bugs. And of course, other kids are going to talk, and you know who it is, and you're going to avoid that kid, which brings it back to they're going to be separated anyway.
No, I think keeping the kid there is going to be far worse because everyone's going to be picking on this kid. But my
Yeah.
mom yelled at me because I had lice, and that kid's going to get the shit kicked out of him, bullied, name called,
Yeah.
or worse.
Cooties.
Yeah, no, probably.
Believe me, in a
worse, far
classroom,
worse
the kids, even if the teacher don't say nothing, the kids are gonna know
yeah.
who it is.
Oh yeah, because it's expensive. Head lice and all that medicine and everything is very expensive. And the first time around dosing it, you're not going to kill it off, and then you have to do it again. Not everybody has money for it, and as a parent, you're not going to keep dishing out money when you find out, okay, who had the bugs? Stay away from that kid. Don't go near him. We don't
Yeah.
need this again. But it's okay because we don't want to hurt their feelings.
That kid's
You got to be
gonna be
kidding!
a
You're hurting their
leper.
feelings.
Yeah.
So many people will send their kids in sick
And that's
all the
them
time.
COVID.
And they get strep throat, and the parents go, "Oh, you spike a fever at 8:00. All right, well, I'm going to give you some Tylenol, and I'm going to send you in, and try to make it through most of the day." Well, what happens with these kids, especially with strep throat, is it goes to scarlet fever, and it's a distinctive rash that is pushed out right in the back. And you're talking little kids, and that causes kidney damage, causes the calcium to be sucked out of your teeth, heart damage. And you're sending a kid with a fever, a little one, into school to sit there
And
sick
suffer.
and suffer because you don't want to miss your work, or maybe it's not so bad or whatever, because that's more important.
Yeah. I watched this world turn to shit. I've become apathetic. I feel very.
It makes you
little of
jaded.
anything.
And I was just gonna say earlier, I do a lot of thinking sometimes, and these are all based on my own opinions and how I feel. And when you watch the cancel culture, removing statues and everything, it's like I look at it, it's like they're sterilizing our history. They're sterilizing us as a people. This is a chemical castration of the American way. Yes, our country wasn't founded on the best of ways, but how can you better yourselves if you erase your past? As the saying goes, we're gonna repeat ourselves. We're gonna
Yeah.
repeat ourselves if we
You
don't
can't
learn from our past. And how can we learn if it's being washed away? And I do think some of these cancer cultures, they're doing it just because it's funny. Like that OK symbol, now it's a racist symbol.
Yeah.
Right. Wait.
KKK.
Yeah, if you do an OK symbol, and this all started out as a joke.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who did
That's how it
this
happens.
was a joke. He's like, oh, the OK symbol represents a noose around the black man's throat.
What?
Yeah, that's the OK symbol.
Yep.
And it started out as a joke. This guy clearly stay as a joke, but it took off. That's why the protests and the rioters are attacking that courthouse, because one of the basketball players, he does this when he gets a three. And they saw it in the window, and like, we need to burn on Twitter. We need to burn this down. They're representing racism because of the OK symbol. Yeah.
Yeah, this is how stupid.
And I think, and it's some of this stuff starts off as a joke, but it gets traction by people who are crazy.
Yeah.
You know.
But it is crazy. So what if it's actually part of the sign language or something?
Yeah.
Then
how could you
you're
sign
racist.
OK if it's part of the
Yeah.
sign language?
What are we talking about?
Have you heard how the OK symbol is now racist?
Oh yeah, but that was
Yeah, it was a joke. The guy started off as a joke.
no, it wasn't. It started as a joke. I forgot what the kid's name is. The
I
Proud
think that
Boys.
is okay in sign language.
The
too.
Proud Boys started using it as a symbol that means white power for the W and the P. That's what it started with
Yeah,
the Proud Boys.
That would be a
Well-
B, though.
Huh?
That would be a B.
No, this is the W up here,
Yeah.
and the P is down here.
Yeah.
It's upside down. Oh,
That
okay.
makes zero
Well, what does it
That
now
makes
mean
sense.
in the American Sign Language?
I don't know what it means in sign language. I don't do
Well,
sign
I
language.
think there's a difference
It's
between
on-
this
Go on the Proud Boy
and
website.
this. You know.
It's on the Proud Boy website. Look, get
Oh
on
my
your phone.
goodness.
Everybody, get on the Google and go to the Proud Boy website. See it. You'll see the symbol.
But
there.
also, the like I said, the one guy, he started this whole, was a joke trend, and that caught traction too, and that's why they went after that courthouse. Like I was saying, when you came down, they went after the courthouse, the rioters and protesters, because they saw the window of a basketball player, and he makes that symbol every time he makes a three-pointer. But they didn't see that; they just saw this in the windows, and that's why they were
Yeah,
going
it's
after.
the OK symbol for deaf, a common hand gesture that a 4chan trolling campaign claimed in
4chan, that's who it
2017
is.
had been appropriated as a symbol meaning white power.
So did he started it, and then they just took it over? The
It's
Proud
the
Boys?
internet.
I never even heard the Proud Boys. I think until yesterday.
There are people who you
No, the Proud
normally would
Boys-
hear go against Antifa. I like to
No.
watch
The Proud Boys have
Antifa.
existed before Antifa.
That's the only
In
time I've
fact,
heard of them.
several of the Proud Boy members have been arrested for impersonating Antifa, going out and doing wild shit.
That's
happened.
stupid too. That's just
I don't
That's
care who they are. If
That's
you're doing
people
wild shit,
looking
you
for
should be
conflict
arrested.
because Antifa has done the same thing. I just like watching them all beat each other half to death. That's what I find.
I don't mind what they do to each other, but leave innocent people out.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't.
I
Either
know.
side don't seem
They
to.
don't.
I watched an Antifa
See, the
guy wearing his
problem
sister's
that we're
pants get
having
hit by a
right now in
car.
the country is that in the country right now, you turn on major media
Yeah.
networks and they're telling you that white power is fine, Proud Boys are fine, KKK is fine, but Antifa is a problem, Black Lives Matter is a problem, black people in the country in general is a problem, Muslims coming into the country is a problem. These are the messages that you collect. And it's
Anything
hard.
with power and a color with it is wrong instantly because it's racist.
Rogaine
Yeah.
barely working.
I think
Is a
Rogaine doesn't
problem.
work for black people, Junior.
You know what does? Soul Glow.
I decided now with the COVID thing, I remember hearing about months back that like another thing with other countries versus us is that, you know, if somebody would catch this thing, they would actually have on their phones apps, and they would have hotspots and stuff, and everybody in the neighborhood would all know that this person had COVID, and they would actually have different sheriffs or like officers, you know, surround, but basically monitor a person's house and say, listen, you have to be quarantined, because, you know, some people would be like, well, I had COVID, I feel fine, I'm gonna go out to the fucking mall and hang out, and they're like, no, you're not. And it's like, and the whole neighborhood will know that you got COVID, and you're gonna sit here and ride it out. And that's the problem I've had versus freedoms. But see, over in America, oh, you can't do that, that's violate my fucking rights. No, dickhead. The problem with your bullshit rights is we're not going to let you have this. You know you have this. You're not going to go out to the mall or Walmart or Price Shop or whatever and give it to 200 more fucking people. Other nations, when you catch it, listen, we're not asking. We're telling you, you're going to sit home for 2 weeks. We'll bring you supplies. We'll make sure your bills are paid. You're fed. You're going to sit the fuck home. And if you don't like it, we're going to be outside your house telling you you're not leaving. That's what's talking about freedom of freaking
like
rights.
Josh.
Freedom of rights. Over in America, well, I got COVID. You can't force me to stay home. Okay, no problem. Then just go out and fucking infect 1,000 more people. And that is no example of why we're failing for, because we're not telling people, we're asking them, well, if you got COVID, if you want to stay home, but we can't really force you. No, you can force them, but we're not doing it. And this is why it's almost fucking September and we're still battling this shit.
And even in businesses, like for us, you're supposed to do that. But we have female managers out on the floor that are like, well, I'm not gonna go talk to them because, what if they confront me? They're afraid of that. They're retail people. They're not security force.
That's the symbol they're trying to push.
I still see it as okay.
Just because you want to come up with something, you can't change the American language or something.
So
People do it all the time, though.
Well, then I guess all those NBA
American
players who
language
do
is
it
just
are
so
white supremacists.
malleable. They
It's
they
just
can make whatever you want.
Language is a made-up concept in general. It can be changed. It's been changed several times throughout history. It's why the swastika that was originally a symbol of peace is now a Nazi symbol of hate.
That's true.
Things change. The OK symbol has been confiscated.
And we take it back. I say we take it back and make something else.
So I wonder when they're going to change the sign language.
Yeah.
Because they have to
sign language. Well,
like you see The Rock with Vice Watch Wrestling, The Rock would say 1, 2, and go 3 because that means 3. It's like obviously wrestling would say 3 because it's 3 fingers.
Well, don't oversimplify it. Don't say that just because somebody does this, they're racist. When a racist Proud Boy does this, it means racism. When the average person does this, it doesn't mean racism because he's not racist. He's not doing this to antagonize you.
Yeah,
but if he's a Proud Boy member with a swastika tattooed on his chest, Proud Boy's tattoos on his arm, and waving this in your face, he's using it as a racist symbol.
But yet Antifa are trying to burn down a federal building because
you have a problem with Antifa. You see Antifa as a problem, but you're fine with the Proud Boys, is what you're saying?
No, I said anything with power in it, whether white power or black power, they're both racist.
But that's not true because in order for it to be racist, it has to have a racist agenda. When a Proud Boy is pushing the agenda of I'm superior because I'm white and you're inferior because you're black, and Black Lives Matter is saying, I want equal rights. And Antifa is saying, we're anti-fascists.
But they are fascists. They use fascist tactics. So they're fascists.
Here's the problem with that. Here's the problem with that. If you're not really mad at fascism because you support a fascist president.
I support some of the bills he does, yes, but I don't agree with most of the stuff he talks about.
No, but when you see him do fascism, you should be as angry at him as you are at Antifa.
If he starts burning down buildings and killing people, I will be. If he's not personally doing it, then...
So you don't see the correlation? He is responsible for the actions that they're taking.
So
yes.
So then Black Lives Matter is also involved in a lot of black people being killed, businesses being burned. That 8-year-old being shot because they're fucking around with guns.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But all of this comes from the policies and the actions of
it's people
the person that you support
to do these.
Yeah.
These people choose to go out there and be violent.
No. The people that are shooting that little girl,
here we go again.
Trump made them do it.
They chose to do
it. I'm not saying Trump made them kill a little girl. I'm saying when these people are saying we want change to happen, and instead of the president that leads our country saying let's collectively sit down with people in leadership positions, our governors, our congressmen, and make rules to govern our people, he instead says I'm going to use the American military to move peaceful protesters away from where they're peacefully protesting. You've got to see that triggers people to a further extent. You can't say that you can't make it seem like these people are just woke up one day and decided we're going to go do these things, because that's not what happened. There is a cause and effect.
I think quite a few of them did when they rented a U-Haul and brought in and stuff like that. They knew exactly what they were doing, and you can't say
when did Trump
made
are you saying that when he made the statement of saying he's going to send in the military that triggered people?
I'm saying when he actually did it.
When did the military come in?
And on June 1st, 2020, he used the military to move peaceful protesters that were protesting in D.C. all out of his path so he could walk to the church and take a picture with an upside-down Bible. That happened. That's recorded in American history.
Yeah, I see that. He wasn't wearing a mask neither.
Yeah, they also set fire to that church.
They did not. They were peacefully protesting. Those guys did nothing. They were out there protesting. They weren't armed. They weren't rioting. They did nothing. They were there and then he gave the order for the military to go in and move them. That is fascism. That is a violation of their First Amendment right. Of one of their amendment rights. I don't
Did
know
he just move them just to go to the church
The
and
church
then
was set
that
on
was
fire,
it?
and he went
I'm
to
just,
the church.
I'm curious.
Yes.
When was the church set on fire?
The church was set on fire. We're talking about the one across
Yes.
from the thing, right?
Yeah.
It
Yo,
was set on fire.
this thing happened on live feed. Everybody was watching it. There was no fire at the church. He walked over to the church and took a picture with an upside down Bible. He stayed at the church for a few minutes and then left and walked back to the White House. There was no fire at the church. That thing happened on live feed. It happened on the news recorded it. People recorded it. There was no fire at the church.
While you guys look up, I was just saying that fact that besides being okay, I've literally had people just say, like, I thought 3 fingers was counting to, like, the number 3. Like I said, when people would say 1, 2, and then instead of 3 fingers, they would say 3. Like, that's, I've always taken it, honestly, as saying, like, the counting 3. I never took it as even being okay. Like,
Well, no, like,
that's,
oh yeah, it's like some people. No, I understand what Al's saying about that point. It's like if when the Proud Boys, what are they called?
yeah,
when
somebody-
they use it, they're gonna people will see that as a racist. If someone else
It's
use
all
it,
about context.
they're gonna see it as that. But then,
Yeah.
of course, if you're using it amongst friends and a third party sees it, then they could misconstrue it as
the
race-
night before, the church was set on fire
Yep.
by protests.
Yep.
The night before, so the church was burnt down?
I said it was set on fire.
It wasn't
church,
burnt
there
down.
was no fire set on the church.
And
There was no fire at the church.
then all the news people are lying then, which is just you.
What did you look at? CNN.
Oh, I don't believe CNN. I put down
CNN is awful.
church Trump visited, and it said St. John's Church. And it's talking about
Yeah, I didn't even hear about a fire either.
Why? Because that's not part of the
church's
narrative.
parish house,
That's
which
true.
had been damaged by a fire during protests the night before.
And he was visiting it.
Yeah.
The media. This is what the media does.
Exactly. That's why I don't really care about
What is
CNN,
real?
Fox,
Are we in the
MSNBC.
Matrix? I don't know.
Probably.
yeah, it's hard to keep up in this. Like,
It's so much every day. It's like you wake up every morning like, okay,
say,
what?
I mean,
What happened now?
I check
What
my-
happened? You don't even look at the news yet. You just wake up like, oh God, what's going
That's why I
on?
said mutual destruction. The Proud Boys, Antifa, Black Lives Matter,
They all
white
need to be
supremacists.
Everything needs to change from the bottom to the top, the
Angry
top to the bottom.
basement
We
dwelling
can't
college
continue as
kids.
this.
Just a battle royale. Let them all kill each other, and I
Oh,
will
yeah.
just order it on pay-per-view. I don't care about any
That
of
would
them.
be perfect.
You
Let
ain't
them
lying.
go
I
at it.
don't care about
Without
any of
any
them
innocent
because none
people.
of their message matters to me. They all need to shut the fuck up. Stop antagonizing each other. Leave buildings alone. You want to kill each other? Go out in the field like a bunch of retards.
Hunger
with
Games?
sticks and
Yeah.
rocks.
Do a Hunger Games.
Bash
Yeah.
each other's heads in.
What's like-
leave
Maybe
buildings
odds
and
for
When you
Forever
mention
be
the
in
stuff
your
with
favor.
Antifa and protesters, like, I don't, there's so much to keep up on, but
There's
like,
so much.
But
The
I-
media. Sorry, yeah, the media changes. There is. So
But no,
much.
I did see the video yesterday with the whole Seattle thing. There was a black dude, and I watched the whole like 2-minute video. Like he screamed Black Lives Matter, and then he's walking down the street saying, "All you fucking white people need to get the fuck out these houses because you guys bought this from black people." And like but it was a Black Lives Matter protest, and he's saying, "I'm Black Lives Matter," and like we're all saying you need to move the fuck out of here. And I'm like, well, that's not a good message neither. Be telling people move out of their
Well,
houses.
it's like it's amazing when you have all these different organizations. There's gonna be people who take advantage of it.
Yeah,
That-
in all parts.
That what Carlton just said, that one word, is where the problem is. The movement, the representation, is different than the organization, and what they're trying and what Karen said, the narrative.
And
The organization has a narrative.
but there's too many organizations all saying Black Lives Matter.
Exactly.
There's a
We
Black
need
Lives Matter charter
one.
in Chicago that, remember on the news, they're saying, oh, we're going to rob this stuff because this is our reparations,
Yeah.
so let us rob it.
Yeah, but
So-
that's organization. That's
Yeah.
not movement.
But
Yeah. Oh,
it
yeah,
all
these-
has the
there's
same
different charters.
banner
Yeah.
on it.
And
So
it's like, so even,
So it makes everything look bad.
yeah, it does. Because
because
they're
the
focusing-
organization is doing something.
Exactly.
I looked in the very beginning. I want to know where the money goes. If I donate to something to help it, like the only one I donate to is St. Jude's Hospital.
Gotta
You
help them babies.
You go, all your money, 100%, goes straight to the hospital and to the parents and the kids, and they pay for everything. If you give money like at a gas station for something, the company that puts that out has someone in that company that's paid out of that money to administer And then there's administration costs. So when you find out, and you can go on their websites because they have to disclose this to the IRS. Oh, well, every dollar that you donate here, 10 cents goes to what they're advertising for. St. Jude's 100%. I always want to know where my money's going.
Oh, of course.
So I looked it up and I showed him because I had no idea and I did not know any of this. And they broke it all out. Again, there's this Black Lives Incorporated, and it's by this African American guy out in California who is for profit, and he uses the money for making having dinners in the community between the police and African American communities.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great thing.
He's trying to
I would
bridge
be
connections.
However, since he started this 6 years ago, he doesn't have. He had something like $300 or $400, and he hasn't had one dinner yet. Great idea, but now what happens is all these corporations were like, "Oh my goodness, we're going to donate to Black Lives Matter," and they didn't research that there were so many of them. So all of a sudden, he's getting money, and people are getting upset because they're like, "Oh, wait a minute." I don't want to send money to him. I don't want that cause. I want what everybody's all upset about. We want our money back. And he's like, no, you donated and now it's our money. So then there's these other women that started.
Marxist chicks.
The Marxist ones that were in jail and pardoned and blah, blah, blah. And they are for profit. They have filed for a nonprofit, but they have not completed this. Therefore, you're not allowed to see where their money goes for. And that's the one that uses the platform of blue, something that the other Democrats are all collecting their money on.
It's called Act Blue.
Act Blue.
Blue, yep.
So that's where that money goes from, and you have to go, and your money goes to Act Blue, and then you designate it, and it goes there, but you don't know what
They're
they're doing
mismanaging
for
money,
it.
though.
Oh, yes, they are.
They're mismanaging money heavily.
And that is a
Well, you can't blame
for-profit.
Americans for having mixed views of Black Lives Matters when the news is focusing on the bad parts. These people that are tarnishing the name that
Act Blue is tarnishing it.
All of them are. So then you have separate chapters, and some chapters are recognized by these women because they're doing this and collecting and getting the money. And then
Making
these other
revenues.
rogue chapters are just sprouting up and calling themselves that,
Yeah.
and coming up with their own agenda and attacking some businesses, saying this is our demands and you need to start giving some of your money to this, or we're going to drop a block through your window tomorrow night. Which, that's mafia. I'm sorry. So you got all of this.
Oh, did you see that news where they were trying to extort businesses? Some of
This
these Black
other
Lives Matter
chapter.
movements.
Oh, there was a. I'll actually add to that. There was actually a thing where there was people actually posing as Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
But they
were
think
posing
they
at it.
are.
Well, I said again, these are the people that are tarnishing the name,
movement.
the movement.
And there
You're
should
tarnishing the movement because you're doing things because of an organization.
And of course, you know what
with
the
an
regular
agenda.
American
Right,
people
so
are
you
going to
should-
see. They're going to see
The
this.
people who honestly want to see real change
Yeah.
need to come up with something different to call themselves and do it that way. That way they aren't the protesters, they aren't these groups all a mess, and then people can identify and know who they are. Everyone knows who PETA is.
Yeah.
Okay? They love the animals, but they are a little crazy sometimes, right?
Well, Antifa
Paint on
is
your
the same
fur.
way though. If you look at it, Antifa has the vast majority of Antifa is bad because when you look at their actions, you look at everything that's happening. Look at the cities where most of the people who are quote Antifa are. That's causing so much damage. Like for example, in the northwest part of the country, two major cities, Portland and Seattle, in the northwestern part of the country, have literally cleared businesses out.
they're
Majority of
not
the
coming
businesses
back.
are cleared out of them. They're not going to come back up
and
there.
there's their tax base.
You know, and it's just like, and what people, and it's just like, you know, you got the small group of Antifa that's actually representing something, and that's the movement. But because you got people that's a part of the organization that's doing things in Portland and Seattle, and they're getting funded to do this stuff. They're
Yeah.
getting funded to cause damage.
Yeah.
Because how else are people able to do these things? Like when there was a pallet of bricks on Madison Ave for the Albany protest riot, you're literally handing
What?
people
Holy
weapons.
shit.
You're literally handing people weapons to incite riots, to cause damage.
It's not just Albany.
And they should
it's
be
not just Albany.
arrested
Yeah.
because if this wasn't happening and you ran down Main Street by yourself throwing bricks at buildings,
You messed up.
you would go to jail.
And you get beat up.
And that's the way it is. But then I hate it when people go, "Oh, do you support this? Do you support Black Lives Matter?" Well, which one and which direction and what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And because I'm not just blindly and then well, you're racist. Well,
My answer
no,
is simple.
I'm just
No.
trying
To
to.
all of them, no.
Well, this is like there's so much
People's
confusion
lives matter
that
who matter to me.
the average American person, it's like, what do you mean? Which one do I need? You know, the news is polarizing the extremists.
Yep.
You know,
I
and-
support the movement, not the agenda. I support the movement. That's it. If people ask me what I support, I say I support the movement for change. Doesn't matter what group, doesn't matter what people are thinking about, doesn't matter what people are talking about. I support the movement for change, not
get
the
these-
agenda for the nonsense and for the destruction.
You need to get these liberals out of here. That's what all the liberals are causing all these issues. Malcolm X warned about that.
Listen,
That is true.
Malcolm
that is
X
not
warned.
true. The
Get them
liberals
liberals.
aren't causing all the issues.
Get these liberals
The
out of
issues-
here.
The issues are caused by
Yeah.
conflicting ideologies.
Yeah.
That's the issue. That's what's causing the issue.
That's true too.
I just want us united and sitting down.
Well, that's never going to happen.
It can.
As long as there's
It
two
can happen.
humans.
It can. It's possible.
I am not going to give up on that.
I
Martin
did.
Luther King, JFK, they united this country.
Here's the thing. It could happen,
Well, they're
but in
dead,
order for it to
too.
happen,
Yes,
the
they
people
are, but
that
they
want it to
did.
happen have to speak louder.
They have to
That's
speak.
what it would take.
And you
Because the
gotta stand
majority, I promise you, the majority of this country is not divided. The majority of the country is not driven by hate. The problem is the people that are driven by hate on both sides are the
Are
ones
loud.
speaking the loudest. That's the
Yep.
problem. That's
Yep.
the issue.
And I'm tired
That's why they
of
call
it,
it the silent majority.
which is
Yep.
going to stand up and have
Give me a
enough
tank.
of
I'll speak the loudest. Oh, you want a riot? Hey, hear this. Boom.
Because we can't talk about real issues like child trafficking.
Well, that's the
No,
main.
sex trade
because
and
that
Epstein's
doesn't matter
Island.
to them.
Well, it matters to everybody else. It's got
That's the main thing. You can't
Here's-
talk.
here's the
2
thing
million
about
shares
that.
on Facebook.
Here's
2
the
million.
here's the issue with Epstein's Island. Epstein Island exists, and there are a lot of powerful people connected to it. This is why you're not going to hear about it. You
Yeah.
think like there are a lot of people right now on both sides of the aisle. There are a lot of
definitely.
Democrats posting pictures of all these Republicans that are connected to it. There are Republicans posting pictures of all these Democrats connected
yep.
to it. The
Yeah.
issue is everybody that's connected to it, they're wealthy and they're powerful.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
Before this thing comes out and ruins lives, people are going to fight to keep it a secret. I
But it's
promise
already
you.
ruined.
Well, I think what
lives.
they-
It's
but
continuing
just
to
poor
ruin lives.
lives that didn't really
It's not.
matter.
It's not
right?
hitting the hard people yet.
But look at Prince Andrew. That the pictures are damning, and they still got him.
And this is
Over
the thing
there. Mm-hmm.
is the thing is they know it's true, but because they have the evidence and they have her testimony, they know what happened. The problem is he is who he is.
Yep.
And it's not that simple to just walk into Buckingham Palace and throw cuffs on him.
My thing
It's
I'm
not that
worried
simple.
about is that the two names that are already known, like Prince Andrew and Bill Clinton, with all the powerful people that still have yet to be named,
Yo,
they
they
might
released-
throw these two to the sharks just to quell the waters, you
They
know?
released documents the other day. I was texting Chris about it. I was reading through the documents. The girl, Griselle, whatever her name is, was mandated by a judge to make public documents of a case that they had solved years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was reading through it and I was telling Chris, I'm only looking for two names in here. I'm looking for Trump. I'm looking for Clinton. I'm looking for Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. Both of their names are all over these lists. I was telling him, I said, this is what's going to happen. As soon as this shit hits the news and becomes public knowledge and everybody starts talking about it, everybody's going to say pedophilia is wrong and Bill Clinton should be in jail, but pedophilia is fine because Trump did it. That's what's going to happen. I guarantee you that shit is going to happen. They're going to say, well, this is lock him up because he's wrong, but and maybe it's fine because he did it. That's the wild shit that I feel like is coming down the pipe. But Trump's name is all over the ledgers and Clinton's name is all over the ledgers. But
What
they
legends
can't-
are these?
the it's on. You
Yeah.
can Google it. The problem.
Well, I know
is
the ledger. You talk about the flight ledgers to Epstein
there's
Island.
there's a bunch of different papers. Their names are on a bunch of different things. The problem is what they're doing right now is sorting out what means what. Like,
Right.
because just your name just being here and being attached to this number and this thing over here, it has to all be in context. We have to know what it means exactly.
Right.
We want to know.
Yeah,
why
I don't care
Projection.
who it is. I want everyone who has done something to go down. If it's Trump, I want him to go. I want everybody. I just want to know that justice is still alive.
And this is my thing. I can tell you that I love Clinton as a president. The Clinton has done some hard shit. He has done some hard shit. But I love him as a president. Yeah. But if I find out he's a pedophile, I'm going to be leading the charge on his arrest. I promise you. Like, this shit is just...
I mean...
26 times.
25, yeah 26 times to
and
the
that
island.
Portrait of him over... I'm like...
And his wife's dress, yes.
Yeah.
Yo, you have no idea how that picture tickled me. Like, that picture of him in the dress, I have been laughing at that picture for weeks now. Because I was like, what position would you know what it would take for me to let somebody paint me in a dress? like that's crazy. That's more intimate than having a snapshot. That's like you posed for this. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, I would have to have lost a bet.
But I think Epstein was very smart. I think he brought in a lot of different people there to camouflage on who was there for what. And I think he also tried to see who he could tempt and put dirt on.
And that's it. The thing is, what he was doing, what he did that was smart is he was doing some wild shit, and he started enticing other people with this wild thing that he was doing, and then it put him in a position to have leverage over these people.
And also, don't forget the Hollywood people too. You notice people in Hollywood are on that list.
There's a lot of powerful, wealthy men connected to it. It's gonna
and women.
Yeah, okay.
I bet you there's women.
Somebody's gonna take the fall on it.
I just want everyone involved.
Should it's wrong.
I want everyone involved to be.
Yeah.
I just want to see justice done. You know, I don't want them to throw a few people out there just to settle the waters. I want everybody. I don't care who it is. I don't care if the goddamn country collapsed. Fuck it, you know. This is disgusting, and I want to see everyone. Fuck, you want to execute it pretty much. Just line them all up on their knees and just put a bullet in the back of their head.
Yeah, it'll save a lot of time.
Yeah, why even? Yeah, save a lot of time and money.
Yeah.
Country collapse. Well, we have the designated survivor, unless he's
You know, the weird thing for me is how people get to live like a weird double life. Like it's like there are people that you would never like suspect. You would never. It just would never dawn on you the wild shit that some of these guys are doing.
They hit it good.
You know?
But then again, you know what? You look at, Ben Carson. I like him. I think it's amazing what he's done. His mom was 13 when she was married. Only had a 3rd grade education. But she was determined that he was going to succeed. And she got a free library card, and she had him read 2 books every day. And he's done a lot. Brain surgeon, working in the government, tried to run for president. But you look back at that and go, wow, she got married when she was 13. Isn't that amazing? And I'm thinking, no, that must have been scary as hell.
Her husband was a fucking pedophile.
Yeah.
Her husband was
but
wild.
you sit there and go, oh, Ben Carson, look where he came from and all this stuff. And all I could think of was, oh my God, she was 13 years old. And yet, what a strong woman, because she did it and raised the kid.
What a strong girl.
Yeah. But think about
what
that.
a strong victim.
Yeah, I know.
All I can say is welcome to the world. The truth is far more disturbing than any fantasy you can think of.
Yep. I mean, marriage laws in this country, in some states, have only been recently changed. So, like
Alabama.
17. Yeah, I know.
Kellogg's.
You can still marry your second cousin down there or something, right?
Yeah. Kellogg's has a disgusting history.
the world. That's just
Well, I just wrote this down for I'll pull up some news stories because what Junior said.
Where were you guys the day you found out that Jared from Subway was a fucking pedophile? Like looking at naked children's pictures.
When was this at? What year was this at?
I can't even remember, but I
find
remember
I
I was at
Home
work.
Depot.
I was at work when it popped up on my phone and
It's
I was
always-
looking at Google.
It doesn't surprise me to most sense, but it's like when it happens, you're like, really? I mean, with Michael Jackson, that come out, it's like
Yeah.
If he did do it and he do it, that he's good. But I'm not gonna stop loving his music. I'm gonna say it straight up. I fucking love his music.
You know,
but
I struggled with Michael Jackson for a while for this reason. I always loved his music. Always,
yeah,
but I couldn't accept the thought of him being a pedophile.
Yeah.
The only thing that allows me to continue listening to his music is the fact that he was never charged with anything. But it's still hard at like listening to all the accusations.
Yeah, it is.
You know, like,
I like the
Look at
Dave
Bill
Chappelle's
Cosby.
kid. It's like, what does Michael Jackson look like? I don't know. White thing, got some sprinkles on it, some glitter on it. Like, that is correct. Actually, I never seen it.
Like Bill Cosby broke my heart. I'm telling you, to this day,
Bill
like that,
Cosby.
Yeah, it's
it's
part of
that
my childhood.
I'm so angry at Bill Cosby. Like my anger is, I'm angry at him because I swear, like when I first heard that he was being charged for rape, I was like, nah, that's crazy, Bill Cosby. But then it doesn't even take much digging. Like honestly, you just Google Bill Cosby and rape, and so much information comes up. And then the amount of women that came out and said this guy did this, it was like, yo, how dare you like say all this good stuff and pretend to be this good guy, but secretly you're raping women?
And that does like
fucking
hearing
rapist,
Mr.
like-
Rogers do something like that, you know.
Yeah, it just kind of blows your mind.
That shit is
It just
that shit broke me.
I actually have a news story on that on the side, but the only thing I want to add was like when Junior talked about a while back with the Redskins thing, cancel culture. I've said this before, and I'm just using examples again. Is that cancel culture only works if companies allow it to work, and this is like almost like we just mentioned with anything with the vocal minority. It's like we've seen it. Everyone here has watched South Park. Since South Park's creation, people have been offended every year, and every year without Twitter and social media, I'm offended. Cancel South Park. South Park Comedy Central say, hey, guess what? Fuck you. If you're offended, don't watch it. Simple as that. And the show's still going pretty strong. But then you have, like, say, Family Guy. Family Guy, oh, well, we can't have, like, the one guy voice Cleveland no more because he's a white actor, can't voice a black character. Or, like, Family Guy can't do gay jokes. Or, like, or The Simpsons can't do. That's the issue. Joe Rogan's still every single time Chappelle puts out any special, anything he does, how many people hop on fucking Twitter and like, oh, Dave Chappelle, something that offended me, cancel Dave Chappelle. And Chappelle's like, okay. And, I just had 30 million people watch my special. Netflix is like, if you don't like Dave Chappelle, don't fucking watch it. Simple as that. Dave Chappelle's never apologizing. Bill Burr's not apologizing. And we've all said this, that. Could you imagine back in the day, like what George Carlin or old school Eddie Murphy,
oh my God,
Richard fucking Pryor, Rod Dangerfield.
George Carlin.
The thing is, none of them guys ever apologized. These companies now, like Carlton said, keep bending the fucking knee. That's why these, and I know the Redskins it has a history and stuff, but overall though, companies, the Aunt Jemimas, the Uncle fucking Bens, everyone's like, hey, if you're offended, no offense, then don't buy your shit.
I know.
Well, this is the difference in those two situations. As a stand-up comic, you're allowed to take certain liberties, and also as a comic, your job being a comic, you could argue and make the you don't even have to argue it. The reality is you're telling jokes.
Yeah.
Like even if it's offensive, it's still just a joke. Like he's not. They're not trying to convince you to see the world in a way that hurts somebody else. Like he's not on stage trying to convince you to be angry at transsexuals. The transsexuals get angry because he makes jokes about transsexuals. But a lot of his jokes aren't demeaning to them. They don't like it anyway. But that's a different it's different. I feel like the Redskin issue is you have a group of people that can actually connect the negative history to the phrase, right? There is a history there. There have been atrocities committed against natives, and that word is attached to the messed up things that were done to them. Those people have complained for a long time, and the problem was people just ignored it, or just didn't pay attention to it, or just didn't care. And we're at the point now, like it took us getting to the point of cancel culture for any change to be done on that front. On that term, on just the term of the Redskins, I agree 100% that if the term is offensive to them, they're the ones that have to deal with what it makes them feel like when the term is used. Yeah. So if they find it offensive, make some changes. I'm not, like, I don't know, like, how else would you correct the issue other than to change the name?
Add an A.
Like, I wouldn't, like, a lot of things that people complain about in like this modern era, in our cancel culture situation, They are petty, nonsensical things that we don't have to really care about.
Yep.
Like, we could see some of the things that people argue about, and we could say, I don't care if you're offended by that. Like, it's not offensive to everybody. But some of those things don't carry a deep history of aggression and hate.
Yeah.
Right? So it's different. Like, it's just a completely different thing. So I don't agree that considering it part of the cancel culture and thinking it's a petty thing is a fair aspect to give it. Like, to consider it like, oh, this is petty and these guys are just bitching about something that's I don't think that particular thing.
Well, the only thing I would ask is, again, I mean, the Redskins, I'm not even a fan of the team, but like I said, growing up as a kid, I had a Redskins starter jacket. A lot of my friends and even my father's family members, they had Redskins jackets. Some people could make the debate that, well, a lot of natives, at least that where I grew up, was like, hey guys, we're happy that at least we got a football team, because right now it's like, we're going to change it. Well, they're not going to call it like the Washington, like Apaches or something, or Mohawks. They're going to change it to some name that has nothing to do with natives. So now it's like, and some people could debate that you at least give the natives a football team. Now you're giving them no football team. Now they have no representation. You know, it's
why would you want to give them negative representation? It would make more sense that give them no representation. If you're going to give them the representation in a negative way, what's the point? I can't. There's nothing I can say to equate it, because I'll say this. Just because every black person isn't offended by the term nigger, it doesn't mean that there isn't a bunch of people that will be. So I could sit here right now and hear somebody use the term. It won't trigger me, because I could tell the difference between somebody using it within context or somebody using it to be offensive, right? I'm not going to let myself get swept away on a wave of, oh, you said the word, so now I'm upset. Yeah. But there are a lot of people that would. Would it be fair to say, just because there are some people that aren't offended by the word, we should now ignore the fact that this word is a polarizing word and some people might react in a bad way? It's not, it's insane to assume that. So just because some of the natives aren't on board with getting rid of the name, those that are on board with it, they should be respected, because like I said, there's a history to the word. The word didn't come out of nowhere. Right? And if you're going to give them representation, why not positive representation? Why not name...
Well, they're not going to, though.
I don't know what they're going to do.
Because now it's the Washington football team, and that just sounds stupid as shit.
What are they going to do with the Chiefs?
Well, that's one. They're removing the logo. So, but now, like, besides the Redskins, though, but now they're going to like look at things like, you know.
No, it's literally called the Washington football team now.
Football.
Yeah, right now.
Which is stupid.
But also, but to go into other sports, so it's okay. Like, you have like the Cleveland Indians, you have like the Atlanta Braves. Now those are being looked at as, okay, maybe we need to change these logos.
But here's the difference. The argument I would make for those teams is that those aren't offensive phrases.
But that's what I'm saying. But this
Braves
is
are
now,
actually.
But now people now are saying, well, maybe Braves is too offensive, and that's the point I'm making is, no, I do understand, like you're saying, Al, the fact that some people would take the term Redskins offensive. The issue, like everything we talk about, is it starts with one thing, and now here's the fucking snowball effect. And now it's going to be, well, you know what, the term Braves, how about, is Braves offensive? Like,
but we're like, as a people, we're the ones that control the outcome. Like, just because somebody says a word is offensive when it's clearly not, doesn't mean we have to. Well,
that's what I'm saying. That's a problem with these companies, though. These companies are catering to this because, like I said, 5 people. There's been times where it's. I've read articles where, like, you know, someone will make, like, you know, oh, Captain America: Civil War. I found this offensive. Okay, and how many likes did you get? Well, I had 10 likes, and then an article gets written. Like, somebody found the term Civil War offensive on a Marvel superhero, then, like, nothing came of it. But the fact that,
I was just about to say, there's nothing that's going to come out of that. But the fact
somebody wrote an article, but the thing is, this guy got 10.
Everyone can write an article now.
Well, but the fact that he got 10 likes on Twitter, right? What happens if he got, like, 1 million likes?
Well, Uncle
then
Ben's
2 million
rice.
likes. You know,
what's offensive about
Captain
that?
America, not in a fan homosexual
but
relationship.
But these are
that
why
became an issue.
But these are why companies, though, companies are
Mm-hmm.
losing money in terms of, like, okay, like this. All week I looked at the DC logo. Like, DC had the new Wonder Woman 1984 thing, but DC, they're redoing the DC Universe app and having a bunch of problems, and there's terms for it. But like DC just like fired a third of their staff, and DC is bleeding money. The fucking comics are freaking tanking. A lot of people are saying, well, what's happening for? Well, the thing is, you had a core audience that were readers and liked your comics, and you're changing up a lot of your views because the vocal minority But once, like when Marvel tried doing the snowflake and safe space and shit, because what 100 assholes on Twitter like the terms in. Marvel does this, they get record-breaking dislikes. Social media is tearing them apart. It's like, guys, you can't please everybody.
This is the thing they've got to learn. If they're changing the entire structure of their company to please a couple of people, and it's forcing them to hemorrhage money, then they got to learn that. That's a lesson that
but that's what's
they
happening
deserve to
though.
learn.
But we're seeing it with let's say you didn't play Last of Us. Last of Us 2 is like in comparison to part 1. Last of Us 2 was so shoved down your throat with all these fucking politics, and now the sales are tanking and the user ratings are tanking. And like say Supergirl and Batwoman were doing pretty decent and became so fucking political, the ratings are freaking tanking. And people, I keep watching YouTube videos, people are saying, whether it's Star Wars or Disney, it's like these companies, how much money do you guys have to lose before you stop understanding? Stop listening to the 2% on Twitter and listen to your 98% of your fan base. With the term with defensive stuff that, like you said, Al, it's offensive is like subjectional, but like I always find with video games, there are certain countries out there that find certain video games, whether it's Halo, Call of Duty, Gears of War, they're too offensive. So they're telling the citizens, these video games are banned in our countries because they're too offensive. Over here in America, though, we're starting getting to more and more of like, we can't film certain movies anymore. We can't make certain comedies anymore. We can't make certain video games anymore because they're too offensive.
But Disney's putting out.
But I'm like, but how are we becoming any different than like,
transgenders.
if you want to go buy a copy of Gears of War, it should be your fucking freedom to go buy a copy of Gears of War. If you don't like Gears of War, don't fucking play it. But now it's becoming like, well, we can't grade Gears of War 6 because now, the first couple games were kind of offensive, and now it's too offensive. Grand Theft Auto, every Grand Theft Auto, since remember Grand Theft Auto 3 came out, you kept reading endless articles about people being pissed off, mothers flipping out, blah,
There's
blah, blah.
also a lot of politicians that go after video games for violence.
But they kept making the game saying, guys, Grand Theft Auto 5, it broke every record in gaming history. It made billions of fucking dollars. Instead of saying, guys, we're not making it anymore, they're like, fuck you, we're going to keep making more of this shit. Companies got to stop. Like, we see comics go through it. If you're offended by our product, just don't buy it. Or our movie,
I do think this whole cancel culture is a phase.
Like I said, I get the Redskins.
It's hot right now.
Issue.
I mean, it
definitely is a phase.
That's one thing I try to watch is follow the trends and the phases here, and I'll see things like that won't last long, and I can't recall, but because they're gone. I mean, this is probably going to last maybe to the end of the year because everyone's home. This is all their focus can be on is what's out there once people start getting back out doing their normal stuff,
you're not going to
forget
but
about
not to
that.
mention,
And that's
like
what
I
I'm
was
really
saying,
hoping.
but how many?
I'm hoping that during the fall that we don't get a double whammy with flu and
Double
stuff,
whammy.
and then
They'll
all of
probably
us are.
say we are.
I just think when people get back to their normal lives, a lot of this is gonna go away.
Well, this has been happening even before COVID.
I'm not saying that a lot of it should, but I'm just saying like this cancel culture
gone.
It's gonna fizzle out. It's gonna be a couple of only the big stuff, or the popular stuff, but it's
gonna come down like Al was saying.
Usual celebrity.
There's too many companies like Disney are keep losing billions of fucking dollars. At some point where it's like, why is their company bankrupt for? Because you dumbasses listen to the 1% on Twitter, and that's why you're losing. Star Wars, people can say, oh, Star Wars is going strong. Bullshit. Star Wars is hemorrhaging fucking money. Disney is hemorrhaging money. Marvel's hemorrhaging fucking money. All of them are, because you're too busy listening to, said they call it the blue-haired weirdos on fucking Twitter, and like, some gaming companies, not all of them, but some gaming companies are losing fucking sales because, like, people, that's what we want, escapism. I don't need to fucking hear about Thor talking about gender equality and police brutality. He's an Asgardian god. What does Thor got to do with Trump? It's like, holy shit. I don't need Batman on Twitter talking about Biden and shit, and that's what they're doing now. It's like Superman's talking about, Mexican border walls, and what is Superman? I don't read the Incredible Hulk to hear about transgender issues.
Entertainment should be entertainment. It is a way for us to relax and take a break from everything that we're bombarded with.
You can't think about, your brain can't sustain this high level of alertness and stress constantly. We're inundated day after day with everything being political, and people need to escape. They need to decompress. When they are being attacked by it, they're going to become defensive. They're going to become aggressive.
Or depressed.
And people need, it's like, that's why you sleep, because your brain needs to filter out all that information.
Yeah.
If you don't go without sleep for a while, you're going to have some adverse situations. People can't get away from politics. there's going to be some adverse reactions.
That's
to
what's
it.
been the
My
problem.
only game plan here is to force Elliot to love Antifa.
Even if it's not right, I'm going to force you to love
Well,
that.
I will when I can.
Give him a Antifa stuffed toy. Remember those wrestling body buddies? With that just Antifa. Like, here you go, Elliot.
Carlton, but
Put
that's
some pictures of their
That's,
head
that's become
between
the
my
problem, though,
legs,
especially the past couple of
driving
years.
them.
People have been talking about is like politics, though. This is the issue. Is now these creators of this, all art is subjection, all art is entertainment. Before, you listen to a rock and roll song, you'd watch a movie, read a comic book, play a video game for escapism. These creators are shoving their political fucking views into their art. So you're like, for Christ's sakes, I can't fucking read a comic or like play a video game or like whatever. Pick up like anything, a coloring book now, a Dr. Seuss book without talking about fucking Trump.
Don't worry, yeah.
It's like I said before, I don't care if like I'm with Al in a sense. Vote for the guy, don't vote for the guy. Love the guy, hate the guy. The thing is, I don't need to hear about him every 5 fucking seconds on my phone. Then hop into like playing Call of Duty and like now it's Trump's on Call of Duty. It's everywhere to the point where it's like, Jesus Christ, can I take 5 seconds of my life and not hear about Trump? What, good or bad? But
Well, I see Riley Reid on. I see Riley Reid on Call
You
of
are in the
Duty.
wrong country for that bullshit, my friend.
That's it.
If you want to exist in a world outside of hearing about Trump,
Well, not just
hop on a
Trump,
plane,
but not just Trump, but
sail on out the country because as long as he's president, he's going to be
but
a
not just
focal
him-
point
but
of
not just
him.
everybody's conversation.
Daily.
But not just him though, but just the political. That's what we do escapism for. I want like the new movie. Bill and Ted 3 is coming out. Okay, I don't want to hear Trump and Bill and Ted 3. I don't give a fuck about Trump and Bill and Ted 3 or Black Lives Matter, Antifa and Bill and Ted 3. I just want to go fucking see Bill and Ted 3.
I don't watch Mulan,
Exactly. It's like
no.
who's watching Mulan to hear about the political agenda for Mulan?
I'll make a man.
Art
out of
imitates
you.
life, and life imitates art. As long as it's happening in the world,
Well-
it's going to make its way into the art form.
Yeah, and I agree that I told Chris about this before. It's like I don't care if they want to have a message or a moral or something. If they got to do it in a tasteful way, and it doesn't have to reflect our direct situation, but they can do it in a way that it reflects a situation that should be looked at. That's what I think. It's like as long as it like this, they're just throwing it and blatantly in your face. They're not
Exactly.
They're not spicing it up. It's like here's a big pile of shit. Boom. Before it's like now you just make it subtle. It's like okay, yes, they're talking about diversity and abuse, but it's doing it in such a way that you're understanding the message, but it's so ingrained into the story that it's like, oh wow,
It's not a political agenda.
It makes you think about what's going on without being political.
Well, that was the point that
That was basically Stanley's point with X-Men. It was
Yeah,
exactly.
It was about the oppression
Right
of people
there.
because of their differences, but it wasn't. He didn't make it a racial issue.
Well,
he didn't make it a.
yeah.
And it was beautifully done.
Well, I was gonna say to you because I've listened to different guys on YouTube say like a lot of people keep going back to older stuff. Like Susan was not in our age gap, but so she's got Disney Plus, and any of us go back right now and watch X-Men the animated series and see how awesome and relevant it was. But the thing is, watch X-Men the animated series. As a 90s kid, I didn't hear nothing about Clinton. I didn't hear nothing about fucking Bush. I didn't hear nothing about. It didn't feel.
But they tackled important topics in a
But just X-Men
engaging way.
Now, but take modern comics though versus let's say X-Men, Gargoyles, Batman the animated series, or even Star Trek Next Generation. You could watch all that and not think about politics. Now though, look at Star Trek Picard. Look at current comic books. Look at current Batman shows. It's just shoved down your fucking throat.
You know what was the difference then? The difference then was our politics wasn't this toxic. That was what the difference was then. Right now, we are in the middle of the most toxic political atmosphere that's ever existed. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, shit is outrageous.
But not
and
even
that's
politics
why
too. But like
everybody is motivated and driven by their own political
characters.
views.
We had female characters like Hercules. We also had Xena. Xena didn't make Hercules fucking worthless. She didn't have Red Sonja made Conan worthless. Now it's just like, okay, here's a strong female woman. The males are morons. The males are weak. The males are pathetic, and she's perfect, and she can't be her. Blah blah blah.
Mary
It's like
Seuss.
we were all grazed on '90s action women, 2000 action women, and they were part of the storyline. Now it's just
Oh,
like
yeah, she
men are
ran.
stupid and
Flux.
whatever. It's like.
Actually, Xena got her ass whooped a lot, by the way.
Yeah, but she got back up.
Shit.
I think she got beat up, but she got back up.
Yeah.
She died many
But
times.
Hercules obviously has the power of a demigod, but like Hercules
she
and
was
Xena,
just-
but they were both nasty. Now, if that was nowadays, it'd be like Hercules would get his ass kicked every single episode.
Xena would
would
rescue
jump
him.
in, never get hit once, never get hurt, save Hercules fucking day. Xena, I'm so happy you're here because you're so perfect and you're so empowered.
It try to be, like I said, it tries to be engaging, but it's so unrealistic that it just can't pull you
I'm going to
in.
go out on a limb and say that I don't really have a problem with the female empowerment movement. Like, I don't have a problem with them making women seem strong or whatever. Like, that
But not perfect,
that
though.
doesn't bother me, right? It doesn't bother me. Let's be honest about the way women have been treated in the history of our country. Like, the feminist movement needed to happen. The way the feminist movement is now, do I agree with it? Absolutely not. But it needed to happen. The original movement needed to happen.
Oh, of course, yes.
Women didn't have rights and they were treated like second-class citizens. That movement needed to happen. Where it is now, it's kind of
crazy.
wild.
It's crazy.
It's kind of wild.
Yeah.
But at the
Yeah,
same
I'm
time,
not agreeing that I don't believe in strong women. It's like what Chris was saying. It's like where they're just so strong that they shit on men just for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, the only reason I don't argue about it, the only reason I don't let it bother me is look at it from the point of view of, if you're a man in this modern era and you have daughters, you don't want to put out a message of, I don't think you should consider yourself strong or perfect or what. Like, the message you want your daughter to have, regardless of the effect it have on men. Because let's be honest, it isn't going to, telling women they're stronger or they're perfect or whatever isn't going to have that much of a diverse effect on us socially. It's not. Like, it's not going to weaken us in any way for us to let women believe they're powerful and strong, because why not? Right? So I don't see an issue in doing it.
Yeah, we're doing that for
I
our
do-
granddaughters.
So I do understand Chris's point, because when you're telling the story, and I am the type of person that will, like, I love to get lost in a story. Like, when I read a book or I watch something, I will miss all the political cues that they're trying to throw at me. I will be more lost along the line of, oh my God, her powers are amazing. Like, what the, so it's easier for me to like accept it. It won't bother me to the point of, why are they doing this or whatever. But like you said, when it becomes so blatantly obvious that you're just pushing a political agenda, I get where the problem comes in. When it starts to take away from the story, when it starts to, when she starts to outshine the character on just basic plot points, like it does. I get it. It does. You're right. It does have an effect.
Star Wars: The Rise of the
Well, no, I
Skywalkers
was gonna
is
say,
a perfect
like,
example.
everybody here, I'm not sure how much Karen did, but like, okay, we all love John Wick, and look at John Wick 3. Now, look what Halle Berry did. But did her being a badass make John Wick a fucking pussy? Like,
No.
they were partners in that film, but she that's why John Wick is one
long
that
ass fight scene too.
yeah.
I loved every bit of it. Though. I rewatched that scene with her and him
But
running
people
through,
wonder
killing
why
everybody like a
the
thousand
biggest
times.
the biggest praise from John Wick from fans have been like, wow, this feels like such a 90s action film. And that's the biggest praise everyone gets. Why does it seem like a 90s action film? Because it's simple, it's not political. There's John Wick isn't being like some worthless idiot compared to the female characters. The female assassins,
I'll tell you what part of the change up is now. In lieu of the entire Me Too movement and everything like that, like it's like you said, in the 90s, every man in every movie was a super macho man. He was untouchable, unstoppable. Like every Schwarzenegger movie I watched, and it was unrealistic for the average guy, but we loved it. These guys were our action heroes. So is it really that big of a problem if they do that with women now? Like if they make women the kind of heroes that they used to make men back in the 80s and 90s?
You know what? Really I never thought about that. Now that you realize that, like Arnold and all of them walking
like
into
all
the building.
all your action heroes from the 80s
That's
and 90s
true.
were unbeatable, unstoppable, tough macho
I never thought
guys.
about
Like,
that.
They always got the girl. They always defeated the bad guy. These guys were the heroes we looked up to, we aspired to be. Is it wrong?
They got their asses whooped, though.
You're forgetting the heroes of. Let's look at Terminator. Sarah Connor.
Well, no.
Come on.
Yeah.
She is a badass.
She was. She
Badass,
And she
Rippy,
is-
Sigourney Weaver.
Come on.
They
They
were.
were badass.
They were badasses.
And they
That's
were
absolute. That is not
realistic-
even up for debate.
Realistic.
Well, also, Al, that's also why.
badasses.
But fuck with Die Hard for Bruce Willis became a bigger name because they felt like Bruce Willis was the everyman. It's like Bruce Willis. He didn't have he wasn't built like Arnold or Stallone. He was an average everyday cop that kind of he didn't have
Though
superpowers.
actually they didn't even want Bruce Willis for that movie.
But that was
Here's the
appeal.
thing. The reason he even got cast as the average everyday role is because that's the way he looked. That's the way his stature was.
People
Arnold
laugh-
Schwarzenegger got pushed as basically a superhero in every show because he had muscles on top of muscles on top of muscles. And every look at somebody like Bruce Lee, who was literally a sliver of a man. He was like 120 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah.
But he was a fantastic martial artist. And because of that, in every movie he was in, he was damn near a god.
Yeah.
Like he was like, let's be honest with yourself. I could probably beat Bruce Lee.
Well, he is dead, so yeah.
I mean, in his heyday, like no matter how fantastic a martial artist you say he is, if I get a running start and I tackle him to the ground, this fight is over.
No.
I would like to see that. I would pay to watch that. I don't know about your odds, but I want to see what happens.
How tall was he? He was like 5'4", 120 pounds.
Really?
Like,
He was that short?
He was a little guy.
I thought he was like 6'1".
Chuck Norris beats everybody.
I don't know if he was exactly 5'4", but he wasn't a
No,
tall
he was
guy.
like 5'4". He was about like you're saying. But the thing, Al's like, but Carlton knows this. Like we've all. I don't care how nasty I think I'm gonna get. I go fight IP man. Like that shit's there's.
Man.
I mean,
was 5'8",
Donnie
Bruce
Yen.
Lee.
It's like the shit.
He will kill you.
The shit Donnie Yen does in movies. That's not fake though. It's he can really
Yo,
do
listen,
that shit.
but
Like,
I'll put it to you like this: in the '80s, China O'Brien, female martial artist, won so many fucking awards for her martial arts skills. It was unheard of. That's a woman that legitimately worked her way to the top.
Yeah.
But in the movies that she was in, she was a hero. Like she was almost bulletproof, Teflon. Like she was a badass. She didn't get as much hype as her male counterparts, and it was because she was a woman. It wasn't based on her skill because her skill was phenomenal. And what they wanted to do with her was pigeonhole her into the positions of damsel in distress, and she didn't want that because she knew she was a powerful woman. So her career took off a little bit and then kind of fizzled when people were like, she's just a girl kicking people.
Yeah, 90s definitely have action stars, but also it's definitely double-edged sword because you're saying it's like, sometimes you make guys like Arnold like large in life and Stallone, but then like I look at guys like The Rock. Now some people could say, well, The Rock is made to be like an invincible star, but for someone like me, I'm like, you know what? That's also motivation because I see The Rock put out videos like, hey guys, here's my Instagram, here's my Facebook, and like his motto is be the hardest working man in the room. The Rock's motto is like, I got to where I am because I bust my ass. Like, The Rock.
Yeah, but that's not exclusive to him. Everybody in the industry
But even
got to
Joe
that
Rogan's
position.
Joe Rogan's like, guys, I work hard. And he goes, even I'll admit, The Rock makes me look fucking lazy. He's like, that man sleeps like an hour a day. I mean, or like say Tom Cruise or like,
have you ever looked up some of Arnold Schwarzenegger's work routines before, when he was back in
Of
his
course, he
days
used
or
to
whatever?
follow Arnold all the time.
He was insane. Like there is I'm telling you right now, nobody did the kind of shit that he did. He worked like 8 hours a day.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
day.
But guys like Arnold, guys like Stallone, guys like The Rock, for example. But it's also when you see a guy putting that kind of work to get to that level, you expect them to be like a damn near god because they've worked to that. It's because I don't know. It's just like you also feel like motivated because it's been this big thing with superheroes now. Well, superheroes aren't related to the average person. Average people don't look like that. And I'm like, to fairness, when you become Captain America, you don't get like that by sitting home.
Well, he did get a serum.
No, I'm saying, but Chris Evans,
Yeah.
but all these actors to get into like the superhero shape, people get pissed off saying, "Well, that's not realistic." Well, yeah, but no offense, but Chris Hemsworth, he's not.
Superheroes are not realistic.
Chuck Norris is
Are you
realistic.
talking? Oh, I mean, even the live action movies.
What I'm talking about is to get into the shape of Captain America, Thor, Spider-Man, et cetera. People get pissed off like, well, that physique is unrealistic.
That's
And I'm
body
like-
shaming.
And I'm like, well, Chris Hemsworth, I've seen his videos. He's not getting to that shape by sitting home eating cookies all day on his ass playing video games. He's out there in the fucking gym busting his ass to get into that shape.
You talking about Endgame?
And look at Black Widow. She's
But female, there are female actresses
She's
and stuff that put
gorgeous.
that kind of work in too.
Yeah,
Like,
no, agree.
and
But
they-
that's
I
it,
feel
but-
like they
but
deserve
that's what I'm
the
saying,
same
but that's,
hype.
No, but that should be motivation. But my point is like, I don't see this person like who's like, if I gain 50 pounds, I'm not any kind of role model to get into like motivate people to get in kind of good shape.
Fat
If I-
Thor.
no. Look at
I
Wonder
don't know,
Woman.
it's just-
You fat
That's an
Thor's
awful small
cousin.
costume to get into and look good in.
The only person we should be looking up to is Chuck Norris because he
Yes.
killed COVID-19 because COVID-19 had underlying health issues.
Real quick, Bruce Lee was actually 5'8". It was Ip Man, his master, who was
I
5'4".
loved it. I loved it, man.
And Brandon Lee, his son, was 6 foot.
That series made me
Facts.
Didn't he have a daughter too? I think.
Didn't say here.
She's
Chuck
tall,
Norris is
too.
5'10".
Well, Chuck Norris is the most built person in the world because he roundhouse kicked every weight in the gym.
Nobody survives a roundhouse kick from Chuck
recently
Norris.
someone showed that video. I did rewatch that, the whole fight scenes between Bruce and Chuck. Like, to their credit, they don't make it where it's purely one-sided. Yes, Bruce does win the fight, but people tend to forget Chuck back in like that was.
What the hell?
Oh man, somebody just tried to take you out.
I guess so. I thought
You got a ghost.
Yeah, like that entire sequence, like when those two fought, those two had like people tend to forget like how nasty Chuck really fucking was back in the day. Like that fight wasn't no CGI, wasn't no wires, wasn't no strings. That was just two fucking the best going at it. I mean, that entire sequence was freaking epic when Bruce fucking fought Chuck. Like,
well, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
I'll be in bed shortly.
6 o'clock comes way too early.
It does.
Karen, it was a thousand times the pleasure meeting you and spending time in your lovely home and eating all the delicious food that you provided us today. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm glad that it worked. I hope everyone stays healthy.
We'll try.
That's the main.
Unless I get
So
a
we
lead
can do it
sandwich
again.
at home.
Yep, so you can do it
definitely.
again.
Yep, and do it again. Get through this so we can have some kind of normal source of life.
I'm gonna take
Carlton,
make a Sunset
don't you slip
Coke,
up.
Oh, I'm not going nowhere.
Take a shit on it.
I'm not going nowhere.
yes,
I think Chuck Norris Roundhouse kicked his
Probably
microphone.
Wrap this up here soon.
We talked about it and the microphone.
I got a bunch of
fell.
topics. I'll
We
save
said
it
Chuck
later.
Norris and the microphone fell over.
I got a bunch of topics I'll talk about later. But,
Yeah, we got another podcast.
Yeah,
we
no,
get the Zoom working so that I can
But I
call
will
in.
mention him because I'll just finish one up because I just heard about this, listening to our last podcast, going to the whole Bill Cosby spiel. Did you know that I just seen this article that they may be releasing Bill Cosby out of prison to they want him to be on house arrest because of coronavirus, and they felt like because of his age and shit, and apparently he's considered legally blind.
That's only because he has all the money he has.
So I'm just like,
if it was an average, everyday Joe,
I mean, I'm not sure how long we call debate about that, but it kind of had me thinking about like, damn, like you were saying, it's, I really don't know what that moral question would be, but it's like, do you ever think about like this man who just had fucking everything, right? He could have had any woman on the planet. He was like, the icon to like hundreds of millions of people, and just now he's like, you figure a sad old man in his 80s, he's legally freaking blind, and he's sitting in a jail cell, and like, I always would wonder for some people, like, obviously all of us for the most part are the same since we're younger, but people do change over time. And I would always do wonder, a man like that, like, is there any ever possibility he's sitting there right now thinking like, man, I fucked up. It's just like,
I think
It's
people.
possible, but here's the thing, right?
it's just like, just imagine just the fact you're sitting in a jail cell, you can barely fucking see, you're suffering, you're in pain, and like you're confined to. It's like, is any part of you just feel any shred of fucking remorse? Like maybe I shouldn't have did
He
that
might.
shit.
But my problem with him getting out free is the fact of every minute that he spends in jail, he's earned it.
Yeah,
Like he has earned it. He deserves it. If anybody deserves to die in jail for actions that they've committed, it is this man. And I don't say it lightly because I know it'll be offensive to a bunch of people, but I don't care who's offended, because you know who should be offended? The family of all the women that he raped. Those are the people who should be offended at the fact that now he wants to be a doddering old man losing his eyesight and wants some kind of sympathy. Now he wants to be home and comfortable in his house. You know how many lives this man has ruined? How many women is fucked up right now because
not
of the
even
shit
just
that he's
women,
done to
said
them?
how much of people, icons looked up.
Like,
it just
nah, fuck that. They
It's
should
like he can feel remorse, he can feel regret, and he can forgive himself, but that's all he's gonna feel.
Exactly.
It's not gonna change the situation, and people should like, well, he feels better now. As Al said, he earned every minute in there, so he can feel that shit while he's in prison.
I think
all that locked up.
People do change, and he can regret, but he earned that time. He's got to do it.
He earned
I
that
wouldn't
time.
say, like, I'd be careful how I word this. I wouldn't say I have a soft spot, but as somebody who's fucking been locked up, I would say that, we can, talk about our everyday lives and shit, but when you are in there, and personally, Kim, let's be honest, he's going to be, I'm not sure how long he did, but like, he's going to be in solitary confinement for a very long time. When you spend 24/7 stuck in a 6x4 room and shit, like you definitely have time to reflect on yourself, and it's just like, I always want a person like that, like, man, look at the shit you've done. Like, does any party ever just think like, man, like, why the fuck did I do that shit for? It just,
I guarantee you, almost everybody that has done something wrong and gotten caught has regretted it.
Yeah,
and the
'cause they got
regret
caught.
always comes after the getting caught. There are people who legitimately recognize that they're doing something wrong and they change. Those people, the fact that they changed is what stopped them from landing in a situation where they're now locked behind bars, because they recognize this is fucked up. I don't want to do this anymore, and they made a change in life. They decided I'm going to be different. The people that don't change are the ones that inevitably get caught, get sentenced, get locked away, and then while they're in jail or in prison, they come to this revelation like, oh man, I did something wrong, and I, whatever. It's too late now. You should have stopped, or you should have recognized the crazy shit you were doing years ago and stopped yourself.
Because if he regrets it, then that just shows he has a conscience and he knew exactly what he was doing.
Exactly. He knows it's wrong.
He consciously made those choices. So I mean, I understand you being in prison. You hear the sob stories of some people, and some of them are maybe got over punished for theirs, but this is a clear cut case.
No, I
And
just say it's just
the thing is, he's for the amount of women that he's done it to. I could say this, and when it comes to something like rape, I'm very like, I lean hard on it. I will never sympathize with a rapist. Like, I'm just not gonna do it. If you're raping women, I see you as amongst the scum under my shoe.
Yeah.
After I've trodden through shit, like, this is where you are.
I see you as Mark. No, I'm sorry.
So
Cold-blooded.
the fact that he's done it to the amount of women that he's done it to, and now I'm supposed to be like, oh well, he saw the light,
Now-
and he feels bad, and he should come home. No, no.
How do you feel if you read an article that a rapist raped a raper for raping women?
I'd laugh.
The fuck?
And actually, there was an article where a guy raped a rapist for raping a woman.
I mean,
I'm gonna be honest with you.
Is that the hero we deserve?
I'm mixed on it for this reason. I feel like if you're a rapist and you're raping women, you absolutely deserve to know what that feels like. So if a guy holds you down, plows you in the ass, and tells you it's because you've been raping women, I want you to know how it feels. I don't know that I'm mad at that guy. Like, I kind of...
Does that make me gay? Like,
Yeah, does that make you gay?
I'm like,
Use protection to protect himself from rapists.
and it's fucked up because it goes against what I just said that I don't.
But
I
there's
don't sympathize with
situations
rape.
like that.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Like, but honestly,
But you have a strong stance on it, which I agree.
I honestly don't know that I am mad at the guy for raping the rapist. Like,
Yeah.
Hopefully
it's
he
a-
used protection.
No,
Seriously.
We just need Chuck Norris to suplex all.
like-
Yeah.
Because in Cosby's case, if this is just like an average everyday Joe Blow, it's like, this guy had an average job and he's doing life in prison. You're like, fuck him, he's a piece of shit. I think for me, just hearing about like, just the whole history of like this man, what he was, what you were, like now what you are. And it's like, Jesus Christ, dude, like I can't say tragedy, but it's just, it's
it is a tragedy. It is.
I don't want, I don't know if that's a word I should use.
Think
like,
of the effect it has now, because no matter what he has done in his life, it was done by a rapist. No matter what it was, his family has now got to live with the legacy of this man that was your father or your uncle or your brother-in-law, whatever he was to you. This man is a rapist. He was an iconic man that was raping women for decades.
Well, now the article is going to be like, take away what power and money he has. Now, if he gets a be home at house arrest, right? Now it's like, how's it? How I want to know how are people going to feel about that? If he actually does get released and he's home in house arrest, he's home.
Well, there's that one case that's not related where a guy was released from prison because of COVID, and he ran over and shot the girlfriend to death because she was the one who put him in prison.
No.
It would have been better off to let him die in prison of COVID.
Did you? The one guy who was, I believe, a rapist went back to the victim, raped, and then killed her because he was released because of COVID. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
It's a smart idea to release these people.
You might as well let him
I can understand non-violent, like drugs, but
Yeah.
The crazy thing is, a lot of these guys, they get convicted of rape, like when it's like a violent rape, and then you do like a what do they call it, a rape kit, and there's DNA evidence, like her vaginal walls have been bruised and torn, and his semen is in her body. There are clear signs that he did it, so you put him in jail. Now he's a violent offender. Like, he beat the shit out of her and he raped her. This man is dangerous. Would you let him out of jail? And now she's dead. And what do you want me to do? Like, you want me to, like, now I want the guy dead and I want the people that let him out in jail. Like, I want him punished, and I want the people that call for his release punished as well. Because you knew this guy was a monster, and your decision was, well, there's COVID, now let him die in jail of COVID. He earned it.
Well, it's like
he earned his fucking.
By him being on house arrest, and obviously his eyesight being an issue, plus his age, he's not going to be roofing or drugging your fucking women. But like, I wonder how people are going to feel if he actually does get to go home, and people are like,
He does it again.
it's
I don't take it out of a possibility because he's a serial rapist. There's a possibility he'll do it again.
There's absolutely a possibility.
if he's
It's
going to be
not-
blind,
it's
you know
not
he's going to
without
have
the
some
realm
sort of
of-
nursing aid.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I loved Bill Cosby, but knowing he's a serial rapist, there's no doubt in my mind there is a chance he will do it again. Because what does he have to lose?
Hey there, Puddin'. You want to twiddle my pickle?
You want some pudding?
What's up, Jello pudding?
Yeah, no, he deserves to stay in there. I only feel bad for his daughter who died. That one just upset me, but what he did, I kind of got over it. No, he should stay in
Carlton,
there.
before we go, I gotta read this article to you guys because
he's gonna read his article and then we're gonna wrap it
about
up.
because 2020. But yeah,
Florida Man Challenge.
You need a Florida Man Challenge?
You can pull up your article first.
This is Texas is now battling an infestation of ROUS, aka swamp rats.
What the hell?
The size of these rats. So apparently, giant swamp rats have appeared in a park in Texas, and residents of the area fear they're contaminating the water and destroying the ecosystem. They are massive. I'm seeing a picture of these rats. They're bigger than most fucking dogs. They are right now. They're feeding alongside the ducks.
Jesus.
And these rats are fucking huge.
Are the rats from the Princess Bride?
The problem now is that they look like them, but
Giant fucking rodents.
Jesus Christ, this Florida Man Challenge is gruesome.
It says California and Louisiana are already calling for millions from the U.S. government in order to deal with their own swamp rat populations.
Jesus.
Female nutria.
Hey, you know what's funny? Because I think that's the name of the college football team here.
Yeah.
Swamp Rats.
All right, this says female rat. These nutria rats can have babies starting from the age of 4 to 6 months old. They can produce up to 3 litters a year. Each litter can have anywhere from 2 to 13 young. These rats eat 25% of their body weight every day. Since they are alongside a water source, they are fearing that they will contaminate it with parasites. Wildlife experts are asking community not to feed them in hopes that they will leave the area naturally. But if it comes worse to worse, they may have to resort to more drastic measures to get rid of them. So,
Jesus, killer wasp.
It's a swamp. I would already be afraid of what's in there to begin with.
well, it's not. No, it's one. Look, it's not a swamp. It's a park. This is actually a freaking park with buses there and benches. And by the tree, there's about like a fucking 50 of these freaking rats bigger than Carlton's dog, and they're all just hanging out. And they're going down to like the pond right there, and next to the ducks, they're eating all the food next to the ducks, and then wandering towards people in their cars, and people are driving away like it's a fucking 30-pound rat coming at me. Like,
shoot it.
It's your Florida Man Challenge, Unior.
All right, this is the Florida Man Challenge from yesterday. It says a Florida man allegedly damaged a white Cadillac after he dumped a bunch of dirt with a front end loader when his girlfriend showed up to his job Friday in a borrowed car.
Jesus.
Nice.
well, I got to read this for you guys real quick too because
And then today's man was arrested and sentenced for trying to castrate another man.
Oh my God.
It says when they arrived, told the deputy that he had just performed castration on a man and encountered major issues. Deputies found a victim on a bed bleeding heavily with a towel over his groin. And it says, during the investigation, deputies found 2 body parts in a pink container presumed to have belonged to the victim.
no.
Gruesome.
Like, why would people do? Like, why would you?
It's Florida, man. It's just Florida people, man. It's like,
Florida.
What do you got, Chris?
No, because I listened to a different podcast and they were mentioning like how YouTubers most of the time are just talentless, soulless pieces of shit. And we did this article a few months back where remember the Jake and Logan Pauls. Well, the one Paul brother was they caught him. He was part of the rioting and looting and shit, despite his net worth of tens of millions of dollars and stuff. But now the FBI have fucking issued warrants against YouTube star Jake Paul. So,
Oh wow.
yeah, the federal
That
bureau.
makes Chris happy. He hates
Yes, it
YouTube.
does.
And Twitch.
But no, because the fact the FBI has got a sealed warrant and they've been raiding his house and they found apparently a lot of firearms.
Yep.
And then they actually the Scottsdale police filed misdemeanor charges against Jake Paul and also his friend, a third person, Andrew Leon, received misdemeanor charges as well. But they called their previous incident a riot, and now the feds have taken over. And as of right now, they raided his house. They're confiscating shit. So, and they're doing a federal criminal investigation can be completed. So, yeah, this makes me happy.
All
It
right.
really does. No, because people were saying on different podcasts, just it's these YouTube stars, what they do, what they represent, and they have millions of followers, and they're during fucking COVID and stuff, they're out there rioting and looting and helping throw fucking bricks. You got 3 or 4 million followers. Why aren't you home for? It's like, and that wasn't me. That was a friend of mine. No, it looks like you. Well, it could have been somebody else who happened to look like me. No, I had your tattoos, your haircut, and it's like
People
it
calling
was
you
you. And
by your name.
now the fucking feds have raided your house, you prick. And lo and behold, you've got a bunch of guns in your house that are probably not illegal. Yeah. So that's it to you and your shitty YouTube fans.
Take that, YouTube.
So are we ready for our final thoughts for the evening?
That was a long 3 hours.
Kind of went by quick.
It kind of did. I mean, you guys were half comatose from food, but
Half comatose. I'm
Yeah.
falling asleep right now.
This is all.
these are fresh air.
No, it's just kind of depressing because we have a 2-hour drive home and just like
Yeah, it is.
vacation's over with. So.
Stop reminding me that we're leaving.
You can bring these cookies
still
with you
on
out to
vacation?
refuel you for the
I'm
drive.
about to kiss you right on the mouth.
Big wet slobby. So what do you? I'm gonna go last this time. So
Okay.
maybe you wanna?
All right, my closing thoughts is I hope, like us, we can gather. I mean, maybe we can. I'm going to follow the advice that Carlton kind of gave us a while ago, which is just to focus on what we can control. So we can focus on, just being better for ourselves and just living the life that we want to live. Being in this house taught me something else today. And it was just, over the 36 hours that I was here, taught me something. And it was just the fact that,
You don't want to leave.
this is the result of hard work. This is the result of focusing on yourself.
This is the American dream.
Shout out
And
to Carlton
this-
for being my hero.
And this really is the American dream. The American dream is to work hard and to earn what you have.
Exactly.
And this is exactly what he's accomplished. And I'm going to do that, and I'm going to follow that example going forward. Am I going to follow what's happening on the media? Absolutely not. Am I going to follow what's happening going in the White House? Absolutely not. Honestly, going forward, if I see anything political, I'm just going to hide the story. I'm not even going to bother reading it anymore. Like, if I see anything political, I'm just not even going to follow it anymore, because there's no point. Unless we stand up and we gather people together, and unless we stand up and we start the rally to bring everybody together, nothing's going to change.
I think that's what needs to happen. We need a rally for unity as opposed to everybody picking sides and
Yeah,
dividing
everyone's
the nation.
picking a side, and no one's picking
The right side.
exactly.
But as of right now, before I even think to do something like that, I'm going to focus on working. I'm going to focus on investing my money. I'm going to focus on
I
building my
think
bank
because
account.
you can't fix the world until you fix your own problem.
Exactly.
Until you are situated, then you can start focusing your energy outward, but it needs to be inward. First.
Exactly. So,
That made me happy.
so
All right, well, you know my spiel and you know where I stand. I am a devout believer in protecting your neighborhoods and protecting your neighbor and donating to the people and places and things that make your neighborhood better for you and the people around you. And just for the record, Susan, Elliot, and I are not fighting. We're just two intelligent men that like to scream at each other. So, because I know as soon as you hear this, it's going to be Alan and Elliot had a big fight again.
Hey, maybe she'll comfort you too.
she's too busy comforting Longhorn.
I don't know. I think she can handle a couple more Longhorns.
I think she should really get that wheel out of the bottom of the trunk for me.
Yeah, that's my thing. That's my whole spiel. Protect your neighborhood, protect your neighbors, donate to the people that can make your life better. The local library, the schools, fire departments, hospitals, police stations. Donate, take your money and put it to good use. Put it to use in places to make things better for you and people around you.
Not on the internet.
Elliot.
I've been watching Hannibal, and that show makes me hungry. After that, I'm gonna watch Lucifer.
I'm telling Al, he's gonna
Oh,
watch.
Lucifer's good.
Oh yeah, this
Yeah,
weekend.
like
Thank you for
Lucifer.
reminding
Al's
me.
gonna watch Hannibal. Like, you know what? I
Listen,
might
we're
go
gonna-
eat a liver.
What's gonna have to happen is I'm gonna have to come over. We're gonna have to sit down one day and watch it from episode 1 all the way through. Because I'm not gonna watch
binge
it by
it.
myself because
Yeah.
how gory it is.
I got. It's not. Well, it's.
Oh, first of all, I
I'll
want
tell
to
you
say thanks to everyone for coming up. I've been trying to get
No,
this
thank
together,
you.
and I definitely want to do this again.
Yeah, this is not a one-time thing.
No, this is not a one-time thing. Obviously with proper planning, they definitely do this again. But as I said, I'm going to try to usually end mine with quotes I find that very inspirational and I have.
cat.
Yeah, next time I'll have a man cat story. Next time I have it, but I like to read quotes that really just made me think and just aligns with who I am as a person, and this one kind of goes with what we're talking about tonight. Usually, I spare myself from the news because if it's not the propaganda, then it is one threat or another exaggerated to the point of absurdity.
Yep.
Or it is tragedy or storm, quake, tsunami, or of bigotry and oppression misnamed justice, of hatred passed off as righteousness and honored called dishonorable. All jammed in or around advertisements in which a gecko sells insurance, a bear sells toilet paper, a dog sells cars, a gorilla sells investment advisors, a tiger sells cereal, and an elephant sells a drug that will help improve your lung capacity. It's as if no human being in America any longer believes in any other human beings, but trusts only in the recommendation of animals.
That's deep.
That's deep.
Deep shit.
Let's do it again. So
That's from Odd Thomas.
my spiel is always like the same as how Al's is, but like piggybacking off what Junior said, that when you look around everything Carlton and Karen have, this didn't happen overnight, and this came from a long history of like work and fucking dedication and using their brains, and just said
10 years.
What Carlton and Karen have, they didn't get by just sitting in front of a camera in a fucking basement. They actually had to go out and earn it. And I said, I will respect anybody, whether it's a 15-year-old, 35-year-old, man, woman, black, white, whatever. I respect people that go out and what they have, they earned it. And said, this house, everything they represent, this is earned. This wasn't given to them. This wasn't fucking handouts. This wasn't made from like, a life just sitting, living with your parents to your 30 on the internet. So then I respect the fact that what this represents. And Carlton and Karen, I can, know by talking to both of them that it's just like, it's, as somebody who just fixed most of his basement, that having this, knowing that you earned it versus it's been given to you. And that's what I feel like, with right now with like a lot of people on these different sites, it's like you're not earning your keep, you're not earning your money, you're living off handouts. And this house, what was accomplished here, this didn't come through handouts. This came through what Carlton and Karen earned. So that's the fucking point I'm making with being blue collar people. We work, we fucking keep what we own. We earn things by working out there, going there, and like I was on vacation. Vacation should be earned. Life shouldn't be a fucking vacation. Life should be, hard work, and then you get to, have some time off. But like, this is cool to be out here, but we can't do this every day. And what this represents, it would lose its appeal if we were out here every freaking week.
I don't know that it would.
I don't think I'll agree with that.
I don't agree. I
I know what you're getting at, Chris.
Yeah, just the point. Like this is right now. Honestly, this is special because we won't be back here, but we're not here every fucking weekend. I guarantee it. Like it'll still be fun, but like, if we were here all the fucking time, eventually, I don't care. It's it does lose. What makes it special is the fact that we're not here all the time. Like I don't want to come back next week, and I want to come back and like you want to like savor it, and shit. That's like I think the anticipation. It's like I said, this to me is like Disneyland, and Disneyland's awesome, but I don't want to be in Disneyland 7, 8, 9, 10 fucking times a year. Mm-hmm. So, as always, like I said, guys, is that hey, all 6 people here that they've earned their keep. They don't want your money. Don't fucking need it. I don't. And everything that I have and all these people have that, all of us, we worked hard for, and we're appreciative to have stuff we have. So we're not doing this shit. We just had fun in Carlton's basement, drinking, talking about bullshit, and
we've had fun at Carlton's house for
that's the point. We came to Carlton's house to have a good we came to Carlton's house, have a good time, relax, and record this podcast, but we didn't come here like I didn't come here in the hopes of making thousands of dollars through the shit, And said that's the whole point of the podcast. So, all right, guys, peace.
Peace.